I'm so excited that everybody's here today. I hope you caught the podcast earlier today where we talked about some of the things that are going on as we are ushering in our republic and the new golden era. So, welcome. Today we have a very, very special guest, a highly acclaimed scholar, a highly esteemed gentleman in the community who has done extensive research on the republic, on the history of America, and the Moorish people, or the people who were here before we had some visitors from Europe and other places. So, if you will allow me, family, I'm just going to recognize some of you and tell you thank you so much for joining us. I see, who is this in the chat? Melissa Thompson says, I can't wait. Welcome. Right to Right says, I can't wait either. We're excited about the master teacher. Absolutely. Bryce says, Bruh is on point. Hopefully, he will reveal more. Yes, because part one, I premiered a couple of days ago. And of course, we always want to hear part 2, 3, and 4 as much as we can from our esteemed scholar, teacher, elder. Thank you so much for that comment. Jacksonville is in the house. Duval. Hi, Howard. You know, I love our city. It's good to see you. Thank you, I Carrie, for the super sticker, blessing us with a blessing already, a monetary blessing. Thank you. Jewel 20 says, peace, health, and prosperity to the Soul family and to all. I see Duval's in the house again with HH. Good evening, Adrea, excuse me. Good evening, everyone. Malik Bay is in the house. I also see Gracian Sarge Champagne in the house. Good evening, everyone. The King is in the house. King Tay, welcome. Oh, our moderator, Love BN Nubian, is here doing the job of making sure the chat moves along respectfully. Thank you so much, Love BN Nubian, for being here and for all the work that you do. Oh, King Tay says he can't wait to hear Aseer. Who else is in the house? Ninth Child is in the house. My very close friend of 15 years or more, Taj Diami, is in the house. It's good to see you, brother Taj Diami. He calls me Pruitt. Sister Harvetta Lassiter Bay is here. Welcome, sister. I'm always glad to see you. Maria Marcial is here as well. And you guys are just coming in with the love for Aseer, the Duke of Tears, the Sheik, the scholar, the knowledgeable, all-wise elder who has come to teach us and prepare us for this new reality. So let me give a brief introduction about him. I don't think it can be really brief because the man is a scholar. He's amazing. He's been studying for years, so decades actually. So allow me to introduce him to you all, and then we'll bring him on shortly, okay? Aseer is a multimedia artist, a natural historian, published author and writer with a PhD in jurisprudence. He is an astrologer as well. Born Prince Charles E.L. Rogers L., Aseer started doing art at the age of 4. He began taking art classes at the Brooklyn Museum at age 7. But around the age of 10, he began print modeling. And that same year, he drew his first full comic book. He attended art and design high school, where he studied many techniques, but didn't graduate. Instead, he got his GED and went into business for himself, starting Morally Correct Mediums, a subsidiary of his father's publicity company called Rogers Artist Media. He worked on logos and bios for many groups like Eric B. and Rakim, Dougie Fresh, Dead Prez, and a myriad of other musicians. Aseer worked as a contributing writer for The Source magazine, where he wrote articles under his name, or the name Destiny, Destiny. One of his most famous articles was called Booster Shots, which achieved critical acclaim. After gaining knowledge of self by 1997, 1998, he traveled abroad, exhibiting his artwork at galleries while studying jurisprudence. After 5 years, he pursued a PhD in jurisprudence from an online correspondence university in London to work as an after-school teacher. Then he went, worked as an after-school teacher for the New York State Board of Education, the MAP program, and Catholic Charities. Aseer taught more science and history at community centers and various colleges. The colleges that he taught at included LIU and Prince George Community College. He's a regular speaker at high schools in New York and Miami, where he currently resides. Aseer became a member of the MST of A and appointed a sheikh. He began an intense study of history and had a major breakthrough around 1999. In 2003, he was anointed, Duke of Tears by an Ashanti priestess, Empress Nkweke King. And I'll let him pronounce the name for you. Aseer then embarked upon the groundbreaking podcast called Superhero, HERU, Radio on Blog Talk Radio, which lasted 7 years. A multi-talented artist, Aseer and his lovely wife, his queen, Selena, recorded 2 albums under the name Team Cordoba. Aseer also wrote a graphic comic book called The Dark Skull 418 that he has sold over 50,000 ebooks and received a 5-star rating on Amazon. Aseer is currently adapting the DS-14 into toys, cartoons, and animated featured films. With the prequel to the DS-418, a 5-star comic book, the prequel is on its way. Team Cordoba is also working on a joint project as well as solo albums. Aseer is currently working on various subjects and projects to uplift fallen humanity while raising a family and promoting Moorish cultural existence as a viable lifestyle. And soon we will show you all of the areas and ways where you can contact and support Aseer, the Duke of Tears, also the sheikh and scholar, a very prominent figure and elder in our community. So without any further ado, family, please join me in welcoming Aseer, the Duke of Tears. Welcome, brother. Peace.
Peace. Peace, everybody. Thanks for having me on. I really appreciate the support and you having me on the platform again. Peace to everybody that's been tuning in, everybody that's supported over the years. Anybody just finding out about the stuff that, I talk about now. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for all the support. And I appreciate you having me.
Absolutely. Aseer, we have people from all over the world. Just saw somebody saying they're tuning in from the Philippines because people just love, they love truth. They love knowledge and information that will empower us as a family.
Indeed. So, big up to the Philippine Moros. Big up to the Philippine Nationals. All the nationals from all the nations all over the world. Thanks for tuning in and showing love, man. We all we got,
We all we have. Brother Aseer, before we go into today's discussion, can you tell us what it means to be a sheikh?
It's a title of nobility, but it's more of a in a lot of cases more of a ceremonial title. It's usually bestowed on people through a theological standpoint, or it's supposed to be. Most people understand sheikhdom or sheikhhood from the perspective of Arab, or the people who referred to as Arab since 1914, phenotypically. But it's more of a acknowledgement of work done on behalf of the temple, and for the spiritual side of the movement, as well as someone who has the authority to make law, based on the delegation of authority that's supposed to go with it. So, like I said, it's in a way to help govern oneself, and once appointed, anointed, and consecrated to the position, then you're able to help do that for others, hopefully in the aspect of fellowship, as opposed to fraternity. You know what I'm saying? Like it's a little different.
It's a high honor, I hear you say, the title of nobility in the community.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's like Sheik or Shek or
Mm.
Shechem or Shachim
Oh.
or Rachim. Like it's all the same
Mm.
thing. You know, it's just at different epochs of time they'll call it something different. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Chief. You know what I mean? It's the
Chief.
same.
Chief.
Chief
Okay.
is chief. A chief is a sheik. Just
Oh, I see.
do it with the hard H. Anytime you see a CH, that's called, or the linguistic people refer to that as a hard H. So it'd be like chen, right? So it'd
Mm.
be chic. You know what I mean?
Mm.
It's that like we'll say chic, but it's not really a S. It's a C. So if
It's a
it's
C.
CH, that's a hard H. So like a lot of Yiddish people use hard H, like Chabat and
Mm.
Hamas, and you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Um,
Yes.
Chabat, you know. So when you say chief, it's really, if you're saying it from the like Hebrew thing, it would be chief, you know what I
I
mean? Which is
see.
really chic, which in Russian is Shechem, you know what I mean? Which
Yes.
is also Sachem. So it's all the same thing, really.
I see. I never knew that, but now it makes sense. As soon as you said chic is the same as chief, then I could put the two together and actually
Right.
see it.
Somebody who could do business or represent the people in a public or private capacity,
Okay.
you know.
Okay. Okay. Family, let us know that you can hear us. Please put a one in the chat if you can hear us. If you can't, put a two in the chat. Just want to make sure everything is clear so that we can get a full understanding and overstanding of what the Sheik has to say to us today. Um, Brother Aseer or Sheik
Hmm.
Aseer,
Yeah, you
on
just
the
saw
last,
up there is fine.
Aseer is fine?
It's
Okay.
fine. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
You know how we were taught, respect your
indeed.
elders, respect those in leadership, and use those titles.
Indeed, indeed. But you know, we all works in progress, and as much as I know, there's so much more that I don't. So I just strive to keep it in perspective. You know.
Yes, yes. Okay. And I noticed you have the royal attire as well.
Oh
The
yeah, Islam. Yeah, yeah. You know,
beautiful.
the sky blue is a color that a lot of the bays in West Africa they tend to wear. The people refer who would be considered bays, like in our Moorish culture, they a lot of them will wear light blue, sky blue.
Mm,
It's been a color, you know, the color theory and color vibration was a lot with our people
yes.
and how we would ascribe color because each color has a frequency. So,
Mm,
you know, everything was symbolically representative of the individual and who that individual was. So when you saw somebody from a certain nation, you already knew kind of how that nation was represented by that individual. But when they disenfranchised people and then created a colonized type of national representation, a lot of that changed because now the individual who was being represented, who was being seen as the national, was being represented now by different people who have moved in and adopted that nationality. You know what
mm,
I'm saying? So
yes.
you go from the Ainu, who descend from the Yoman or the Joman people, let's say in Nihon, which is Japan, and then they get kind of replaced. They
Mm,
kind of look more like us. They all look
mm,
more like us. So they was from a whole different linguistic branch. And then you get in them getting replaced by the people who eventually became phenotypically understood or known as Chinese. I mean, excuse me,
mm.
Japanese. You see what I'm saying? Same thing
Yes.
happened in China. Same thing happened in Poland. Same thing happened in Germany. Same thing happened in South America. Same thing happened. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yes.
this is what happened towards the last changeover to this
Mm,
phase that we've been in up until now. You know.
mm, yes. Before we continue on, I just want to let everybody know that this Sheik, I'm sorry, Aseer is going to go deep into where we are today, and he's going to talk about how we are at the end of corporate enslavement and we're returning to our sovereignty. So if you are interested in supporting his work, and as you get into the lecture, you enjoy it, feel free to give a monetary or cash app blessing to him at
Appreciate you.
$DS418. You're welcome. It's just something I like to do for my special guests because here we like to show people our gratitude and appreciation the best way we can. Speaking of gratitude, let me say thank you to Thomas the Resurrected Saturn God for his gift and his blessing of $50. God bless you. Have a smile on you. Um, Brother Aseer, on the last time that we met, and I just uploaded that interview that we did a couple of days ago, we were talking about the overturning of the Chevron doctrine and all the things that you saw happening under the Biden administration. And you were foretelling and predicting where we would be today. You talked about how Donald Trump would win the election or when to come forward, how he would use certain tools like executive orders to systematically destroy the deep state. You talked about how we were going to return to a whole new system of sovereignty and prosperity and peace. And we see that happening right now.
It's crazy, right? No, it's
Yes,
crazy. Crazy.
yes.
But that's what happens. I mean, people who don't know their history is doomed to repeat it. And as much as we know our so-called history, they're gonna be there's huge epochs of time that are unaccounted for, but we
Mhm,
see evidence of.
mhm,
So they have to subscribe that to a timeline or time frame to 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 explain the differential
okay.
between the obvious technological advancements of a time period where people were supposed to be less advanced, and then us living in a so-called more advanced civilization, but we seem to be surrounded by a bunch of idiots. So
Mhm,
were the people back then more may have been more technologically advanced, you know what I'm saying, but not as, and more spiritually engaged, but not as intellectually or morally responsible and stuff they was doing. Whereas in this time period, it's the reverse. People want to be morally responsible and they want to be, you know what I mean, um, uh, altruistic with their
mhm,
motivations, you know what I mean, while at the same
yes,
time using the machine to disenfranchise others from that same thing if they don't agree with them. So
mhm,
these generations have been cultivated to have no shame, you know what I'm saying? But then
mhm,
they're
mhm.
offended by everything. You know what I'm saying? So
Yes.
that type of you dig like that type of mental illness or psychological deviance from logic, you know what I mean?
Mhm,
Coming from a let's say a moral perspective, you know what I mean? Because when you say moral, people automatically want to impose Christianity
yeah.
or some ideological thing that goes along with knowing right and wrong. Like that's not how morality really worked, or at least
Mhm,
that's how in reading about different forms of male expression, whether it's stoicism or or anything where men are put in a position where they have to work together regardless of what their differences are to accomplish something. So whether that's a football game or writing the Declaration of Independence or running a nuclear submarine, there's a certain degree of understanding that men have when it comes to hierarchy. They understand how that works. You understand? Because that's how they
yes.
were able to move all societies forward. You know what I
Mm,
mean? Um, so in order to capture the society, you have to separate that men. You have to take men specifically, regardless of what nationality they are, and disenfranchise them from masculinity, which then
mm,
leaves them open to just being males, which then means that they could be manipulated into being whatever else, because they're going to use the female to do that, and mostly all males want to do that. Even homosexuals or people in alternative lifestyles, like even homosexuals, they like women. You know what I mean?
Mm.
They model themselves after women. So
Right. Right.
so whether it's a condescending infatuation or a joyous envy, whatever it is that they have with them, they in order for them to be recognized as this, they have to adopt the traits of what they see
Mm.
femininity is. You
Okay.
understand? Whether
Yes.
they hate women or not, whatever, they in order for you to be seen as that, you have to have those traits. And if
Mm-hmm.
you don't, then that's when you get into the whole down low situation where you have now people, wearing masks the same way now the let's say the trans people would want to be doing that, which led to the overall avalanche of the last administration capitalizing on this corporate identity and attack on the overall soul of humanity by then
Mm.
using these juxtapositions of moralism and at the same time corporatism that is now creating which created the perfect storm where now Disney was paying for transgender sex changes.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
So that's a whole nother thing. So then when you say, okay, well, that's why they put all of these suggestive things and images in the movies and trying to see what I'm saying, because they're social engineering. But this is not coming from the people organically. This is coming from
Right.
a small section of the population that's been brainwashed and corporatized to become generationally independent on the government,
Mm.
to subsidize their lifestyle. You see what I'm saying? Which
Yes.
then government justification over their lifestyle.
Mm.
But that's not the majority of the so-called American populace.
Right.
See what I'm saying? The majority of people are living their life for the positive. They want
Mm-hmm.
us to believe that it's majority negative. So when you hear, like when I came up in the not in the nation gods of earth, they would say it was the 5%, the 10%, the 85%.
Mm.
And the 5% is the ones who know what's happening. They the poor righteous teachers, right? The 10% are the bloodsuckers of the poor, and then you got the 85% that's basically the dumb, deaf, and blind, mind controlled masses, manipulated by the 10%. But
Mm-hmm.
in that 85%, that doesn't mean uh, that massive 85% of people who don't know are unaware, or if they did know, they wouldn't want to now, you see what I'm saying, raise from their position or help the 5 or the 10, because that's where we're in now. People are
Mm.
starting to wake up into a
Mm-hmm.
reality of two realities where you can go to sleep and then you wake up and then your whole city on fire, but then you go on TikTok and then the same place you at a block away is not like that.
Yes. Yes.
There's no fires, there's no nothing, everybody chilling because we're
Mm-hmm.
splitting the what they call the parting of the way. We're getting to the part of that, like the term rapture,
Okay.
right?
Mm-hmm.
People like to use that word. It basically means deported, to be deported.
Wow.
Basically, you know what I'm saying? And when you read
Okay.
the passage, it says, yeah, the forces of the Lord gonna come in like the thief in the night, and then they're gonna take everybody, and before you know it, you know what I'm saying? Their transgressions will be paid for. So everything that we spiritually and naturally are as the origines of the planet, they and live through, they had to, in order for them to continue to exist, get us to constantly replay it. Because I believe, and notice I'm saying I believe because I don't know this. Because
Okay.
the things you believe, you don't know. Because
Mm.
anything you know, you no longer believe. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So I believe that there was a event, and after that event, we went into it was absolute, whatever
Mm.
that was,
Okay.
and we wound up in this place, whatever this place is. Now, whether that event happened some people believe it happened in 1988. Some people believe it happened in 2012. Some people believe it happened in 2000.
Mm-hmm.
Some people believe it happened in um, I think it went all the way back before. I think everything on Earth changed in 1492 with the fall of the last Moorish Empire, because that was the
Oh.
culmination of what they call the millennial reign. Because they said when Christ come back, he's supposed to reign for 1,000 years.
Mm-hmm.
When you look at the time frame of from the fall of Rome, from when Nero and them burnt it down to the time of the fall of the Moorish Empire, it all relates.
Mm.
These times also correlate as what they call a dark age. Dark
Mm.
ages, but remember, age represents 2,126 years. So you don't really know. So when you say ages now, you don't really know how long any of this time really was. You understand?
Mm.
That's why
Yes.
we see remnants of pyramids right next door to. We could see the remnants of the so-called Aztec civilization, right? And then look at Oxford University, right?
Mm.
And then wind up realizing that Oxford University is actually older than the people they call it the Aztec people. So Oxford was built first,
Right.
right?
Okay.
Right.
Yes.
So this is the things what I'm saying. So, but the way we're taught history and the way that the monuments look, you would think the opposite.
Mm-hmm.
You
Mm-hmm.
understand? Because of how you're taught. You're taught to go, fake right, go left. So
Right.
that's how they have manipulated it all up into this point. But now, like I said, we're awakened to that aspect of
Mm-hmm.
history, and we're coming back to realize that, and that's why I think everything is somewhat stagnant to a degree. Like as much as when you hear about revolutions in things, it's always technology, but it's never like they never talk to you about the basic, like all of the public breakthroughs, like the brother that created the water condenser machine in Detroit, the like situations like that. The dude who created the car with that could just run on water and air and all that. Like these are breakthroughs people making every day
Mm-hmm.
by reading old books by people like Wilhelm Reich and Tesla allegedly, and old inventors and things like that, and they're producing these amazing results. But they're so frequently now, they're happening so fast that the mainstream people they can't control that. Because remember, the more people are using this technology or this imagination that they're gleaning, imaginational power that they're gleaning from watching these people create these things, the more they got to bombard you with what the corporations say we need to
Mm-hmm.
focus on. So that's why they're showing you Elon going to Mars and these
Oh.
types of things, because they got to remind you that they're the focus power to get you to where they are telling you they're going to go.
Mm.
However, um, they don't have the blueprint on your life. They don't have the ability to, regards to how much data they got on you. Understand?
Mm-hmm.
No matter how much data they got on you, it doesn't change the fundamental aspect of who you are. Because at any moment, you can render all that data irrelevant by
Mm.
simply choosing to disconnect from it. That's simple. If
Okay.
everybody one day said, I'm not going to use this iPhone no more, you know what would happen? That would
Tell
be
us.
it. But that don't mean that the internet gonna go nowhere, because the internet was on before they realized it was on. The radio stations and frequencies was already on. When they finally turned on the radio, they was receiving signals from
Mm.
radios. So when they created the radio, it was already a radio.
Mm.
Because how else would they be able to communicate through a radio? You understand what I'm saying? So what we're
Yes.
talking about is a paradoxical relationship that we have with what they call space and time, that we are constantly altering based upon the choices and the decisions we make.
Mm-hmm.
The American populace decided that they didn't want to go down a dystopian future where their children would be turned into androgynes and their property would be outright owned by the government, in which that government would then act as a superior husband or wife and always be there to mitigate the circumstances by taking control of the child, to then allow corporate agendas to circumvent any national or human right that the individual may have in order to circumvent the all in order to supplant, or excuse me, support the all important state. That's the ultimate goal of the Kamala pathway. See what I'm saying? With the Trump pathway now, you have a timeline in which the ultimate goal, right, is to make America great.
Yes.
So the operative understanding is America and great,
Mm.
right? So this is not to say that America is great, right? I'm not saying that it is or it isn't. I'm just saying that the operative function of the phrase is to America and great. So that's the main thing. So that means that if you exist, right, or are, let's say, indigenous, if you are a origine, aborigine, indigene, right,
Mm.
denizen, or citizen, right here, right? Each one of those has its own designation and part of the
Mm.
Constitution that is going to govern, right? But the thing
Okay.
about it is that if you, let's say, like we were born here, right? We don't,
Mhm.
you can't send us nowhere else, right? So in that, then that we have the understanding, then that as Americans, right, under the present understanding of what they call America, right? There's the land, there's the people,
Mhm.
there's the continent, right? So
Yes.
different people identify with different aspects of it. That's
Okay.
why people can be like, I'm down for this part of America, but not that part.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying? But then there's certain parts that when it threatens everybody's part, they'll get together and be like, nah, I'm not with that. That's
Mhm.
what makes you an American. You have the ability, right? The
Mm.
purely participatory, illusionary participatory action or ceremonial action of voting that allows that to happen. You understand? So people could say, "Oh yeah, but the electoral college and there's all these different mechanisms in play to do all of that." Yeah, that's true if you know how to freak those. But there's elements of this Republican form of government that they can't even access without us.
Mm.
You understand? They don't
Okay.
even know how to work it. Like there's whole mechanisms in the Library of Congress and patent wise and stuff that we just because you see these patents in there don't mean that they are working each one in it. You know how many patents are in there? You know how far back those patents go? Those
Mm.
patents go back to before the United States was even a country.
Mm.
So there's stuff in there that they can't even really mess with until we get back into the understanding of self to be able to freak all that. How you think a sister can come up with the GPS tracking that they want to put in everybody's phone? That was an original woman that created that.
Mm.
Before her, they couldn't track nobody. They
Mm.
couldn't get nobody on the internet and localize tracking. All that came from the mind of an original woman who wanted to work up at Disney or something. See what I'm
Mm.
saying? Because the institute, because there's no people look like us institution wise that's willing to foster that type of intellect, right? To then bring that back to not only help benefit everybody else, but our people specifically. See what I'm saying? As soon as we get some, we want to just give it to everybody else.
Mm.
So nobody's more thing of that because we always want approval for the great things we create. But we be so busy creating and we don't realize once it's created, we got to secure it now.
Right. Right.
Once it's secured and we done turned it into a interest, now we can monetize this and use this to get us all out the poverty. You see what I'm saying? But we can't do that if we're saying we're this, but then low key you getting EBT or you getting this. You see what I'm saying? I'm not saying if you don't need it. I'm just
Mhm.
saying that you have people who have generationally grown up under socialism in America
Mm.
and they believe that they are owed this without old things without having to work for it.
Mhm. Mhm.
So just because I'm melanated, just because I'm Moorish, just because I'm originally here, don't mean that I'm heartless and I'm like, well, everybody gotta, not have, they gotta work. Well, some people can work. So some people have to be taken care of. That's
Right.
what Social Security and that type of stuff was supposed to be for. But
Mm.
y'all elected a bunch of crooks for the past 80 years. And these niggas been taking money off the top, been embezzling, been
Yeah.
paying for pizza and hot dogs and walnut sauce and all this other type of crap for decades. And we telling you about it. You always telling us wrong, but then it always come out we be right. We be right. So we're at the point now where this dude is basically dismantling all of the aspects that are connected to the scam that have been perpetuated from the first bankruptcy. Well, maybe for the second bankruptcy, which started with Lincoln. Okay. Everything that they're doing is based upon the fact that they lost control of, how can I say it? A lot of stuff was happening that led to public things that showed that they were already flailing in terms of control. They had officially Britain. Okay, there was what they call the American Revolutionary War, right?
Yes.
Let's just go by what people know of that. At the start of that, prior to that, when they decided they was breaking away, right? And the people I'm talking about now are the so-called free white persons, i.e., English noblemen and their denizen suffragettes. So this would be like the melanated bourgeoisie class that had just come over here, and then the blacksmith worker class that had came over with them, right? And they're living in the colony, in these so-called colonies that are technically the corporate land of the crown, right? That is doing business on behalf of Britain.
In England, that New England area?
Yes.
Okay.
That's the company now that is under the, started as the Plymouth, Virginia Plymouth Company, that was paid for by a dude named Bayshore, which is really another version of a family name called Paysor, right? And then Paysor goes back to another family called the Pisor or the Piso, right? Which then takes us all the way back now to like Assyria. You know what I'm saying? Like this, how far back this money is going.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? This bloodline is going, right? So these dudes set up the colony situation, the corporation money, and then they start coming over here to do business on behalf of George, but they liked the freedom and wanted to break away from the corporate aspect of what George was doing, because they had a whole generation of people now being born in this side of the world that, albeit are English, they are seeing all of these other so-called originating cultures, right? That later are later be called Indian or Black Indian or whatever later. But this is not what they call. They're calling them all Moors, because remember, this is England. And that's what England called melanated people, because they already have Moors in the English royal family. When the Moors fell out with Spain and them, a lot of those Moors went into the British Isles royal family and became part of the family. You dig? That's why by the time we get to George and James and these people, these are all melanated people. But their category, their status is white. So they act like black bourgeoisie type. You understand what I'm saying?
So let
And
me
so
see if I do. Oh, go ahead. I'm gonna make sure I can understand it. So the people that came from Europe were brown. They were melanated. They were of the black nobility or
originally.
Originally.
Right. And then under them is the worker class that served them. You see what
Which
I'm
were
saying?
the Europeans, the lighter, the
Right.
Caucasian Europeans.
So you got the rich blacks, the not so rich blacks, and the dead and the dirt poor whites.
That all came here. Okay.
That are now being brought over here under a system called transportation, which is white slavery. Transportation was if you did a crime, and at this time most people doing crimes are the Slavs, the peasants, the whites. They don't have no money. Their money they get, they pay into the lords of the manor in the house, right? In the house of the lords and these people, and all those lords is melanated. These is black nobility type. You understand? And then the intermediary, the intermediary between them and the peasants is the knights. They're the ones that enforce the law. So if the peasant raised up enough and cleaned himself up enough, he could become a knight, and then he could suppress the peasants on behalf of the black nobility. You see what I'm saying?
Oh,
Who call
yes.
themselves blue bloods because they dealt and drank and ate out of the copper, right? To formulate and keep the high copper magnesium filament in their blood. Where if they bled, they literally would oxidize as blue. Like, this is how pure they wanted to keep themselves. All of that went into the dogs when they started raising up the slaves and allowing them to marry into the family to then start to bleach out the line and then send that bleach generation as the overseer generation to the plantations, to the colonies first.
Okay.
And on these colonies, right? But that's just the colony. Outside the colony, we living in the cities and the trapezoid pyramids and the mounds and all these other places. We ain't even worried about them. We're just getting the rent. You see what I'm saying? From George or whoever's the king. So we get to the point where they don't want to pay George and them no more money. They want to have their own situation, their own franchise. So through whoever this person, Benjamin Franklin, is, they wound up setting up their own post office at our capital, which at the time was the old capital of the old American side of the Moorish Empire in Philadelphia, right?
Yes.
And they set it up there. But when the conflict went on, when the conflict started, that post office closed. So now the American, let's say, postal situation was out there to be captured. Right?
Okay.
Now remember, they owed, in order for them to go to war how they wanted, they had to get a loan from France. Because France had already dethroned their Moors with what they did with Josephine and them. You see what I'm saying? So they took that money and then gave it to Jefferson, right? And Franklin and them, and they used that money to fund the American joint to the realm, I think, of 17 million or something like that. So at the end of the war, when they're about to open the post office again, they can't do it because we got to decide they owe a debt. You see what I'm saying? To France, or what we're calling France. Okay. So they couldn't pay that. Then Spain came in and said, yeah, but if that's the case, the post office needs to be reopened with us, one of our people as a postmaster for them, because Cristobal Colon had already had this situation when he discovered it. So technically he was the first postmaster because he sent the first letter back to Ferdinand and them, right? Who all this time we're talking now, all these Europeans we're talking about, these are all Romans who are calling themselves French, who are calling themselves Spanish, who are calling themselves British.
Wow. Okay.
They're calling themselves this because they're starting to phase out now because the populace has been propagandized against the ruling class and everything is moving into republicanism. So royalty know how to get on. So they're looking at the future. So ultimately, these corporations might become colonies, might actually become the corporate aspect of the countries. So let's start early. So this is how he set up the Plymouth Company, right? The Bayshore Company. Excuse me. First, it was the Barbary Company. That's when the Moors was running it. Then when the Moors fell, it got reorganized as the British East India Company with subsidiaries like the British West India Company, the British or British Asian Company, whatever, right? Those are the subsidiaries. Then it goes from that to the colonies, and then from the colonies, each colony then petitions basically become its own state, right? That's basically what happened, right?
Yeah.
But now they're faced with, well, how are we going to do this? Because they got to pay the money. So that's when, after all of the conflict, after all of the war, guess who stepped up to say, We gonna do it. George and them, British, the same niggas they went to war with in the first place. He said, well, it started with us, so we'll establish the new postal zone for the new nation. And where did they set it up? Set it up in Rome, right? But they renamed that place Rome. They renamed it Washington, D.C. See what I'm saying?
Yes.
So now the Republic is vested in the old situation, in the old empire, technically. Or how should I say, the new United States that was now bred for trying to come up as a republic with a democratic form of expression was now obligated to accept the deal. So he wound up paying, and then that's when Washington, D.C. became the new capital. And that's when they started putting in all these new executive orders. So that way, by 1871, what happened? They set up the National Act of Congress, in which they now consolidate all the power. You see what I'm saying?
Okay.
Out into the United States, right? Which is what Lincoln and them was fighting against. But Lincoln wound up taking the loan out from Rome. But when we read the letters of him talking about Rome, we think he talking about the Vatican Rome over there. When he talking about the property that was already over here that was annexed to them through the central bank.
Oh.
And so now he got to get killed. He got to get up out of here because he betrayed, allegedly to them, he betrayed the war. That's why when Booth shot him, he said, you know, death to tyrants. Think sick and tyrannus or whatever. And then set that up. And so from that point on, the post office, basically the main branch, was now running there. But now everything that they start making, they got to make to pay the central bank back for the initial debt that they owe from the war. And then that's when everything started getting crazy. And then the first bankruptcy comes in. Because now here come Noble Joe Ali coming. He's saying, well, we don't have nothing to do with any of that. All of this was connected to us from before any of these entities existed. And according to your supremacy clause, you gotta make the provisions for us to do that. You see what I'm saying? Because we already had a nationality prior to the adoption of the 14th Amendment. Our nationality was already secured through the preamble to the 7th article. As we were a part of the people. So they want to say, oh, well, it was who put the money up. Remember, George Washington niggas was broke. They were traitors. So it was people like John Hanson Bay and Thomas Mifflin and Elia Boudon and these Moors that put up money to do that. Just like in the Civil War, it was a Moor named Haym Solomon whose family could trace its lineage back to being expelled from Grenada. He funded the first money up there because when his family came over here, they rebuilt the synagogues, the temples that was already in South Carolina and all that. His family built all of that. That was all built by Moors, not white Ashkenazi Jews. They moved into those places once the Moors and had been redesignated as Negroes or Indians, and they got ran out, and the property that they literally had been left. Like it was to the point where they was like, we're coming into this area to disassociate everybody. And if you found here, we're going to kill you. So it was literally down to the wire. People running out the crib, they running out the back door, and the army is bringing in the newly transported transatlantic Polish white person. You know what I'm saying? And they literally are in here. They looking for the deed to the property. They take the deed, cross the name out, put their name on it. Next week, somebody from the Smithsonian come down, take their picture with the headdress with the black family's picture still on the wall. Take picture right in front of it. And then boom, now they have Cherokee in their family. Because they do, based upon how the English language is. But that don't mean that they are that. That just means that they were assigned the Cherokee corporate name because they could not be Tasalagi. They could not be Tartalagi. They could not be Portagi. These were the different nations or clans of people who you and I would consider Native American Indians who could trace their lineage back to the Moors of Spain and all of that. That's why these so-called Indian tribes have Moorish names like the Hassana-Misco,
Mm-hmm.
like the Hassana-Misco, or the Mecca Indians, or the
Mm-hmm.
Mohammedans, or the Mohicans, or the Anasazi, or the Skykill, or the it was enough. The Turks, some the Turks. These are native people. People like me and you look like me and you, born here with this DNA from
Mm-hmm.
these clans and nations, but we don't understand how everything was switched over. Because
Mm-hmm.
once they got redesignated as Negroes and then moved into the repopulated cities, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then put into these areas, they're also now put into their own school system that is now being run by the same slaves of the bourgeoisie blacks who are calling themselves Christians, who are now trying to pump the story about them being imported as slave Africans. This is how all of this is going. And so
Okay.
you have a whole generation now of kids born to believe that this is what happened to them.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's reinforced through a organization created to foster this eugenic propaganda, which was called the Department of Education.
Yeah. Yeah. Mm. Mm.
And then once you finished, went through the Department of Education, and you was well bred and brought up like you were supposed to be, and seen as a sober minded Negro, then they send you to the last phase of the programming, which is the last phase of concentration camp, which is what? The HBCU, which were
Yeah.
military installations.
Mm.
General Howard was a general in the war, and it
Mm.
created and took over the land that was there. That was a whole city of again origine people. I won't call them Moors because they get upset when we say that. These origine people who had descended from the origine people who fought the war, they took over that land, and instead of moving them, they just redesignated them while they was there. Say, okay, this is that. And then they used the prisoners, the people who was left, said, well, you either teach this way or we're going to kill you. Some people decided, no, I'm going to die. These are the people that was being lynched. That's why they all over like that. We
Okay.
just think, oh, those are sharecroppers. Those were slaves. No, those were the soldiers of your army that was fighting against the redesignation and occupation after
Mm.
the cataclysmic event, whether that event you want to call it the New Madrid earthquake of 1812, which
Mm.
culminated with the War of 1812, which culminated with the Napoleon's advance in Russia in 1812. Like, how is it
Mm.
all this shit happening in the same year?
Yeah. Yeah.
But we
Mm.
only hearing about one part.
Mm.
So this is what I'm saying. I'm saying that we were literally redesignated, and they use these things. Like I said, imagine you leaving, and then now, in order for you to go back to where you're from, you gotta go back there as a servant. Go look at the movie or read the book, The Last Emperor, about the last emperor of China.
Okay.
It's a perfect example of how, just apply that now to all of the so-called Moorish nobility that existed not only in America but throughout the world at that time.
Mm.
This is what these wars was about. They was upsetting and getting rid of the remnants of the rest of us, because there was no break between the ancient world and the modern world. It's one world. It's one timeline that's moving in waves.
Okay.
So that's why you could walk down the street. This is why you could get on a plane and go to the Acropolis, right? And walk around this ancient structure with a cell phone, right? And be watching a movie about the future, because
Mm.
all of the timelines exist simultaneously. When they
Dang.
say, well, where did the people go? They were rushed out and then forced to adopt the ways of the new people coming in. And the ones that didn't got wiped out. What you think all
Mm.
of these, why you think there's a whole strata of the underground all over the world that's filled up with nothing but bones and skeletons? Who you think them people are?
Mm. Mm.
These are all of the people who didn't go along with the program.
Mm.
So what's happening now is the timelines have converged, because I talked about this in one of my videos. There was a event Time travel, time manipulation is real.
Mm.
Real thing. They do it to you every day. You do it to yourself. When you have a
Okay.
daydream, right?
Mm, yes.
You're outside of time. You're not in this reality of time, to the point where if you daydreaming around somebody else, the person got to bring you back
It's true.
into the
That's true.
present, because you're
Yes.
not there, because you're not what's in front of me. You are who's traveling inside of this universe,
Wow.
and that universe connects with everything out, and it at any point you could just literally go into your imagination, because the minute you close your eyes, everything changes.
Mm.
Everything becomes the same, no matter what color you are. You close your eyes, what you in? Darkness. That darkness, that's reality. That's it.
Okay.
That's where we exist. When we
Really?
open our eyes, we are brought from that area back into what we perceive as the present. But that
Wow.
area is right there. You could close one of your eyes and be in both places at once, but
Yeah.
you can't keep that up.
Oh, right. Right.
Because your nature is to be in one state and then go into the other. They
Mm.
want you in this transhumanist being to have all of that abstraction in one state. So you have a
Mm.
penis, a vagina, breasts. You're strong, you're weak, you're all of these things. But you're all of these things without any alterations in doing that. Because if it wasn't about you having to look a certain way to be a certain thing, then why alter yourself to be that thing? Don't make
Mm.
sense.
Mhm. Mhm.
So the American people or the world populace decided that they didn't want a reality in which they were going to be forced to do that. So because we dominate the reality has to get switched.
Okay.
Because we have seen these so-called people that they brought over, we've seen them, we've seen evidence of them raping and killing and blowing people up. It's not to say all of them was doing that, but a lot of them was doing that. We've
Mhm.
seen gangs go in and take over whole apartment buildings and stuff.
Mhm.
And you know, where was this lack of law enforcement when the dealers was doing all of that in the 80s? Like they
Mhm.
treating these dudes like they in bed with them.
Yeah,
They
true.
were,
Because they
because it
were.
was an op. It was all paid for. What happened to them 70,000, 380,000 kids or whatever they missing? Oh, we don't know. 2 weeks into this dude becoming president, oh, we found him. You
Yeah.
found him.
Mhm. Mhm.
So who had him? You see what I'm saying?
Yes.
So when we see the wildfires and all of that, like when I saw that, I was like, oh, they burning the evidence. They trying to get rid of as much
Oh,
stuff that they can't move. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Before this dude really get in there like that. Cause remember, all of that is connected with tunnels. That's why they all have to use certain high-end real estate brokers, because they have the maps as to how all of the houses interconnect. That's how a lot of these serial killers and niggas was getting away with stuff, because they were just going in and out of the houses. Because all the houses is connected.
Wow.
And these have been like this from the days of Queen Khalifa and them. Like this,
Mm.
that's how they got it. There's
Mm.
a whole city allegedly of so-called reptilians under LA, where they
Mm.
had shut that part of LA down. This is like old info. They found this out in the 80s, 90s.
Mm.
We was talking about this. But now we're at the stage where the rubber has now met the road, where
Mhm.
somebody who said that they're going to do something is actually doing it and
You
holding
sure
people accountable for not doing it, whether
Mhm.
wrong or right.
Mhm.
When I heard about the Black Hawk hitting the plane, my
Yes.
first thought was, aside from I hope, honest to the family, if it happened at all,
Yeah. I
you always
know.
got to throw that in there.
Yeah, because
I don't.
Wikipedia talked about it before it even happened. I just wanted
See,
to.
you see what I'm
Mhm.
saying? See, I
Yeah.
ain't even know that. See, this is what I'm saying, man.
Yeah.
That's why I don't give my heart too much until it's actually proven. But
Mhm.
let's say that it did happen.
Okay.
My first thought, after I hope the families and everything get justice, is who was trying to leave. See,
Mm.
you dig what I mean? Like, who was on the plane besides the passengers that they trying to? Because those type of hits, those are like grand rituals. Like when they wanted to get rid of Jacob Astor, they couldn't hit him. He too powerful on the to them. He was too powerful on the material realm financially. He was too powerful politically. He was too powerful spiritually based upon the levels of rituals and stuff the Astor family was at
Okay.
in the black orders at that time. So they had to take him out in a grand ritual. So they had to take him out in the grand Osiris ritual, crossing over into the Amenta.
Mm-hmm.
So they created the Royal Solar Barge, which was the Titanic, right? He was like the oldest of the group. So
Mm-hmm.
remember, Saturn is the father. Saturn's main planet is Titan, right? So that's tying him to that.
Okay.
And he was the head of the order. He was the head of the Black Order. You know, I'm just using that in lieu of another name. And they sank the whole ship, killed everybody just to get rid of him and Guggenheim to cover it up.
Mm.
There was a movie that came out, Jack Reacher, and there was a sniper who wound up sniping like 5 different people on a Tuesday morning
Mm.
by the waterfront. And everybody thought he was a serial killer. He just went crazy. All that turns out he didn't even do it. He's just the op. The real
Mm.
nigga who did it killed everybody else to throw off who they was really trying to kill. You see what I'm
God.
saying? So that's another form of statecraft. So that's what I thought as well. Like
Mm. Mm-hmm.
maybe one of these people was trying to bounce and they couldn't do that. But it's very rarely you hear about Black Hawks like that
Yeah.
crashing. Also, remember he did fire like 3 of the DEI people that Biden and them had put in there to make sure that all of the human trafficking stuff was still coming in allegedly. Remember when the bridge hit?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
When the
Yeah.
bridge hit and all of the cargo things and they started to suppress the info that people was screaming in the containers.
Yes.
Yeah, so this is what's happening. Like somebody seemed like they actively trying to take control of this thing and turn it
Mm.
around or at least slow it up. So
Yeah. And do you know that Trump actually blamed DEI programs, the diversity, equity, and inclusion? He blamed them for the crash. And I kept saying, why would he blame DEI for the crash?
yeah, because all of the the DEI thing, I first started talking about it online like 4 or 5 years ago.
Okay.
When I found or read that it was a byproduct of an edict that was coming out of the WEF, smuggled through the UN, which was being promoted by BlackRock Vanguard, the State Street.
Mm. Okay.
BlackRock Vanguard and State Street is under another firm. There's somebody higher than them. They're called Hetheria or Hephyra or something like that. I'll
Mm.
get back to you and show you who they
Okay.
are. Something with an H though. They
Okay.
all under that. So everybody's under somebody. So
Okay.
BlackRock is not even at the top. They under. So DEI was a socialist program that was instituted under the guise of bringing so-called more so-called melanated people into forefronts of public financial viability.
Okay.
That's the face of it.
Right. That's the
When
rhetoric.
really, right, when really it was about getting rid of meritocracy, which was one of the points in
Mm.
the Communist Manifesto. One of the points in it is to denationalize the populace, right? By
Okay.
turning the people against their own institutions. And one of
Mm.
the ways to do that is to reduce or get rid of meritocracy because that allows the machine to be flooded with people who are not as skilled. What that does is that starts to erode at the mechanism, whatever institution it is, and helps further the collapse of the
Mm.
institution, which then
You are
allows
speaking.
the
Mm.
state now to impose measures right on the people while at the same time right, further undermine the institution to then create a blight, a public blight of that company or of that institution, which then leads to its ultimate dissolution, which then helps the party. You see what I'm saying?
Wow. Yes. Yes.
All a form of social Marxism. You see what I'm saying?
Mm.
But again, socialists and communists are like almost two different things. Like, in order for you to be a communist, you have to be a socialist. You see,
Okay.
socialism brings about communism. You understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
Communism does not create socialism. Communism already is socialist. So in order for you to bring communism in, you have to use social ideas and mores, turn them into your propaganda, and then use those to eventually change the state for your agenda, which is to make it so that a Politburo is the one that's controlling the means of production. That's what it is. That's why Marx was so thin, but he was not necessarily like Lenin. Lenin, you understand? He now came in and then was wanting to make socialists about the workers becoming the rulers of the state, and then taking the worker section and putting those workers in positions of power to maintain the output of production, which then creates the social programs that are then fostered by the state. So
Wow.
one is talking about creating an overarching state that does the thing, right, from the top down. The other one is saying we're going to do the same thing, but from the bottom up. Understand? So the synthesis now, right, becomes the understanding of what we today see as socialism. Remember, the Soviet Union fell in the 80s. So it's already, the model itself has already been proven obsolete. So that don't work. Whenever you think about Russians, you think about money. Americans associate Russians with money the same way Russians associate Americans with money.
Okay.
Okay. With that being said, that aspect of communism, really, when you think about it today, is only really coming out of where? China, right? And North Korea. So you could just get rid of North Korea. North Korea is in the 1900s right now. They're in the early 1900s in terms of the society.
Okay.
You understand? They don't even have modern sensibilities like that. So if you was to go there, you would be like you going back to the early 1900s, like 1899 or something. That's how they're not even in the modern world, because their timeline, they have a temporal timeline over their people that keeps them locked in a stasis. You see? And they don't let nobody in. And who forces that? Who helps support that? China, because that helps them keep South Korea destabilized, which then allows the United States to have to put more money into South Korea to keep China, you see what I'm saying, from allowing North Korea to do their thing. So this is really about US and China.
Okay.
You understand?
Yes, it's about the U.S. and China. Before you go on, hold on, Brother Aseer, 1 second. This is about the U.S. and China. I want you to hold your thought. Family, I want to thank you so much for 1,070 people being in the chat. Hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, share this very important video as the Sheik instructs us. And if this information is turning on a light on in your head and it's clicking for you and it's empowering you, then please consider giving our brother a beautiful donation, whatever you're able to.
I appreciate it.
You can send him, you're welcome, a Cash App blessing to $ DS418, and we will greatly appreciate it. As well, one more thing, I want to say that somebody gave an offering in the chat, and I want to acknowledge you and tell you thank you so very much. Who was that gave an offering? 1 second, family. I always want to acknowledge you. We thanked Thomas. Thank you so much. And there was another one. Your family helped me remember who that was. Oh, it was Mari. Thank you so much, Mari. Quotes for your super sticker of $5. God bless you. Heaven smile on you is my prayer. So Brother Aseer, the Sheik, is really opening my eyes, because when I heard President Trump blame DEI for the collapse with the Black Hawk, which is a military helicopter colliding into American and
Mhm.
then crashing over the Potomac River into the
Exactly.
icy cold waters, I knew that was all coded. That
Yeah.
ritual was coded,
It
And of
seemed
course,
like something going on. Also, the call sign for that Black Hawk was PAT 25. PAT is short for Priority Air Transport.
okay.
So I don't know if that means there was a priority person that was being transported on the
Mm,
Black Hawk or the the plane. Who knows? Like I
mm,
said, even if it happened like that, my condolences to the family. You know what I'm saying? All
yes.
that. I just
Yeah.
know that anything in the media, I've learned since the last situation, even before then, always. But I don't trust anything that they be talking about. So that's the problem. The problem
Mm,
is that the republic has been reasserted or established in a manner that people that happen on a private level, and ever since then different elements have added to that change,
mm,
which to us can seem as a deterioration, right? Which is what we
mhm,
witnessed in the last 4 years. What
mhm.
now we're supposed to see it not the destruction or the end of us per se,
Us
but what
who?
we're seeing, right, us being the people, right?
Okay.
What we're seeing is the end of the walk through sleeping walker through life situation, the end
Mm,
of having a government totally telling you what to do and paying for everything for you to live. Like
mm,
what the DEI thing did was it created a false sense of superiority in people who weren't necessarily qualified, right, to be in this position. And then when put in extraordinary circumstances, their lack of experience then becomes preeminent, and then allows the people who are now affected by this preeminent incompetence to then, when asked questions why, the it's why equals self. It's because you hired somebody because of their color and not
mm,
the merit or the ability of work that they could do. Whether they could look what happened in California with the fire people. Like,
mhm,
look at what's happened. Look what happened just the other day with Tiffany Handel. Look what happened to Fannie Willis. Look what happened to all of the Letitia James. Like, look at all of these
mm,
people who literally were drunk with power,
mm,
right? And didn't do nothing to help us. When I say us, I'm talking about the melanated people. They ain't do nothing to help us. See what I'm saying? Like no melanated people really benefited in campaigning for the last administration or anything they was trying to do.
right.
You know what I mean? And at the end it shows you that they had no ability to do. They had no plan because this dude, it was weekend with Bernie. It was
Mhm.
just weekend with Biden. He was literally a dead man walking. Sometimes it wasn't
Literally,
even him. I'm
literally.
thinking that somebody needs to do an investigation on that and come clean with all of that. But see, if they do
Mm,
that, they're gonna have to reveal everything else, and they're not trying to do all of that right now. They're trying to basically do what they said they're gonna do. So it affects those people who are or have been put in these positions without earning them to have to now have to deal with it, and they don't want to do that.
Well, you sound like you're racist against your own people when you say that they put in people just because of this color of their skin and not based on merit. Uh,
Well, I'm saying only 4% of the overall people that's melanated, whether male or female, um, benefited from that. Everybody else that benefited from it was all of the people who got legislation to protect them, who were the
I,
Asians, who were the gays, who was the what you call it, the Ukrainians. They all
mm,
fell under that. They all fell under that. The last people that and really when they talk about DEI, really they only really talking about black women. That's really the only people who, for the most part, was always thrust in our face as being better than everybody else in the race. So All of
Mm.
these black women are the ones put in these positions. And look at what's happened with them.
What's the
They
harm with
all from
that?
Kamala on down. Those
Ah,
black women raised $1 million for her in a night. Imagine what they could have done just to do it for their own without being prompted to have a
mhm.
soror be in there. And then when she lost, look at what she did. She left them all hanging. And now one of them came out and said nothing about it. Let that have been Barack who did that. Let that have
Mm.
been one of these other people. And I'm not a fan of him at all. I'm just using him as an example.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Let that have been a man to do that, because the society controls the males or the masculine population through the women.
Mm.
That the government through the social program became the woman's husband that she could always go
Ooh.
to punish and lock up the man. That's
Wait a
how
minute,
it
wait
works.
a minute, wait a
That's just
minute.
how it is.
Are you
Nobody
serious?
says that that's racist. So
Okay,
again,
stay right there, preacher. Stay right there.
mhm,
How did the system use the women to and the
by
government?
getting the man out the home, by
Okay,
hook or by crook, they
okay.
socially started getting rid of the men. Like I said, all of the men who had like we had armies, we had our own oil wells. We was producing oil at 3,000 barrels a day in Oklahoma. In these places, these white people, they did not. They literally walked into a gold mine. They was walking into our cribs where there was still food on the stove. Like, you don't, we really, you don't get it. We really don't get how easy it was to do that. But you know what? You do, because you watch them bring all these immigrants in here and put them all into your cribs, give them hotels, give them free food, give them all of that. Now imagine now us running the country and then a private corporatized banking cartel who now are using the corporate military aspect of the country to now do that to us. That's what happened. That's how the
Mm.
white people became Cherokees and Choctaws and whatever else they want to call it. That's why all of the so-called Native American names, they all have English spellings. Think about this.
Mm.
Even if they're spelled in what they spell, they're still using English words to spell them. That's
Okay.
because, like I said, George, after the war, the post office was captured and the English became the ones to do it, and became the king became the head postmaster for
Mm.
that, and then he nominated his chief operating officer. That's the president of the United States under this
Mm.
corporate agreement.
Mm.
Right. So this has been, that was going on all the way up until, like I said, Nobuju Ali came, did his thing. They had to reorganize it. And so in Congress, they started working on different schemes to be able to disassociate the so-called origines from their nationality, from their cultural identity, while at the same time taking advantage of the actual property and land that they
Mm.
held immemorial. One, by creating the birth certificate, which made it all work together, right?
Okay.
That now gave them the jurisdictional ability to do that. Then through the postmaster, the first postmaster, from them being sent, the parcels or whatever being sent, or communiques now being sent from the new post office, which is Rome, which is the
Mm.
which is Washington D.C. They now created zip codes that could be sent all over. Once the zip codes were accepted, once they received the communique from this new government and accepted it into the zip code and accepted the letter that is the same dimensions as a coffin, they now were a part and parcel of this new union that was created with
Mm.
the Act of Congress of 1871. So
Okay.
that way,
What's? Go ahead. I'm sorry.
so between 1871 and 1933, right? Excuse me, between 1933, you have this upheaval, this back and forth where they're trying to bring socialism in, take socialism out, bring it in, bring it out until they get to Roosevelt. And then what does he do? He bring in the New Deal. See what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Now he
Mhm.
telling people that who are part of the United States corporation that all of their gold had to be seized, not your gold. You see what I'm saying? Because they told you in the parcel that they only have jurisdiction 10 miles outside of the main branch, right? So if you accepted it and went through with it, then that again made you a citizen. Not to mention they created an educational system that was backed by a eugenics system to be able to further disassociate you from the true tenements of how the republic is supposed to work. So that way they could focus on amending the Constitution to eventually establish a 14th Amendment, to then give corporate citizenship rights to corporations and any asset that the corporation will control, whether that asset is an African American or an illegal immigrant or a dreamer or a whoever. You understand? Which again is another form of indentured servitude under a different name, because you haven't given them full disclosure that you killed them on paper the minute that you gave them the discretionary document or docked them with under what you meant, under what you really meant, right? And then
Documents.
put
Okay.
you see what I'm saying, under a doctor who then starts your first tour of duty, which starts from the time you leave the hospital with the paperwork to 18, in which now you've reached the age of majority and supposed to let them know you are leaving the admiralty jurisdiction and going back to the jurisdiction of the land on the sea, but you were never taught that. See, you weren't taught that because they needed you to use their post office to do all your business. You see, when your post office is really your wherever you receive your Republican form of correspondence or mail, which can be the post office, which is the trading post. Because remember, there's a difference between the post office of the United States of America post office and the United States of America Postal Service. That's why
Okay.
everything is mirrored. That's why everything has a reflection, because they want to see if you're going to use the Republican side of it or you're going to use the, you see what I'm saying? The
Okay.
corporate
The
side of it.
corporate side.
But
Okay.
we make them look the same.
Okay.
So the differential energy, the polarizing energy is you. Do you know what part of it you're in? And we usually don't. So like I said, because they didn't do it and George paid for the post office, they reestablished it all, ran up the debt, right? Up into the profit, told them they're going to have to give all of that back. They sent Hoover in there to shut all of that down, because also the prophet was also telling us before everybody else that we was already here. That when the Europeans got here, we was up and down. He found Moors up and down the Mississippi River. The Mississippi River was the main continent of the 7 rivers that are spoken of in the Bible. So what he's saying is that we was here from pre-biblical times by the time the European got here. See what I'm saying? With the pale nations of Europe. What made them pale wasn't their skin color. It was their character. They paled in comparison to the nobles who had already set up and established it. But because these nobles had done so much bad business with each other, and because there's also now a spiritual thing going on between them, the indemnity between the family, between the side of the family that was against the that existed here from pre-time immemorial, from when the flood was here, before that happened, those that was against the creation of the devil or whatever, or the worshiping of the idols, and then those of us that was for it. Those of us that was against the human sacrifice, see what I'm saying? Those of us that was for it. You see what I'm saying? Just like today, you might be in your family, your husband, your father might be a Muslim, your mother might be a Christian, the son might be a Hindu, his wife might be a Buddhist. You understand what I'm saying? The son might be an atheist. This is what I'm talking about with the bastardization and the breakdown of the national family. They wanted you to think that nationalism and having a national identity is wrong or is somehow fascist. When fascism, just like communism and socialism, is another concept created by these people to perpetuate a pseudo Roman state.
So let me ask you a question, Aseer.
Mhm.
We have bloodline families that were running this country and running the world, and then we have bloodline families behind those bloodline families.
Right.
This whole destruction of the deep state, is this attacking all of those families, or or just the ones that we
Um,
know, like the Rockefellers and the Rothschilds? Like, what is this total
yeah, like the
destruction of the
ones
deep
we
state?
speak on, or the ones they want us to speak on. The
Mm-hmm.
ones they don't speak on, like I said, the Alan Dambrandi, right? The Barnett, the Orsini, the the um the Paiso, the Colon, right? The Sasson, right? All of those are part of another society
Mm.
that goes back and is tied to Vlad Tepes, who you know as Dracula and all of that, through Wallachia. They
Wow.
established something called the Societas Draconis. And
Mm.
after the annexation of Wallachia into the Turkish province, the order
Oops.
was established as a people. Okay, they decided that they were a people who were going to uphold the ancient ways, and those ways
Mm.
of bloodletting, human sacrifice, killing, and all of that. That would be enshrined in their family charter, so they wouldn't be able to be prosecuted for doing that type of stuff if
Mm.
found out. But the goal was to keep it secret. So by
Mm.
the time people heard about the Illuminati, this organized the Societas Draconis had been operating for about 250 years. By the time they
Okay.
even heard about the Illuminati and all that. So um, this Societas Draconis was the unification of a house called the House of Anjou, which is the parent house of the Anjou family in the papal bloodlines, as well as the founders of one of the earlier founders of the Louisiana,
Mm.
the Anjou. And then the other side of the family was the Corvin, Corvinus, also
Okay.
called Coven. And they, once it was adopted at a place called Drakenberg, the Drakenberg Draconians, right, of the Societas Draconis, then were allowed to set up pseudo magical orders in all of the royal families that were running basically all of West Asia, aka Europa at the time. And then
Mm.
when other dignitaries from other nations would come, like from China or from Japan, whatever, and they would go to the parties and they would see how this was going down, they would get initiated in, and then they would take that back with them. You see what I'm saying? And that's how they all could communicate and then come up simultaneously, like a hydra.
Mm.
And
Mm.
so this culminated, like I said, in the world wars where all of the houses started going against each other. The Hundred
Mm.
Year War, the 30-Year War, the Flanders War, the Habsburgs War, right? And then those wars
Mm.
spilled over here when they married into our families through Charles the Second, I believe. Charles II, Charles the Fifth. Charles the Fifth of the Second married into the Inca bloodline and then annexed the Inca family, the Inca Empire, into the Holy Roman Empire. And then they became one thing. And then
Mm.
they took control then of all of the kingdoms up there to create this unified kingdom, which is why they had it with the two heads. One represented the East, one represented the West, right? Because remember, there is no Europe. That's just West Asia. You understand what I'm saying? There's
Yeah.
no Europe. Europe don't exist. There's only, so all those people are West Asians. They
Ah.
named themselves after a Phoenician Moorish goddess named Europa, who was
Okay.
connected to Dido, who was the founder of Carthage. See,
Jeez.
so it always go back to us. So
Mm-hmm.
ultimately, they married in, moved up, and then once the bloodlines was thoroughly intermingled, that's when everything started popping over here. That's when we get the colonialization, the annexations of the invasion of Cortez, the
Mm.
invasion of what's his name? You know, all of these secessions of people. They're all coming under these corporate designations because the actual government, like I said, had been shut down because the post office flag had been captured. So this had existed all up until 1999 when allegedly this dude, you might have heard of him, this dude named These two dudes one named Miller and one named Gould, I believe.
Mm.
They were doing the syntax research on the actual flag of the United States that they used to do all of this from, and found out that they had the wrong syntax in it, which means everything that they did was voided. And that means that the original annexation that they tried under the post office had now come to the end. And there was about 19 days where 19, I would say 19 to 20, 25 days where the actual real flag for the republic was nowhere to be found. So they
Mm.
captured the flag, allegedly, captured it,
Mhm.
and then went to the UN and was like, this is the real flag. These dudes is not really in the proper jurisdiction to do any of this stuff.
Mm.
We we are now establishing a post office here in America. But it's, no, they said, well, where would you want the land that this flag would apply to? And instead of saying the physical land, he said that the physical land that the flag would represent or apply to would be all the courts all over the country. So what that did was that immediately put all the courts technically under an Article 3 situation. You understand? In which now the post office having been captured and no longer funded by a foreign power, that means then that foreign power, the debt ceased to be sustainable for them. You know what I'm saying? They can't apply the debt because the debt has one not only has already been paid technically through the national debt, but they are not under the obligation to pay the debt through the inferior post office, which is DC, which is why they started boarding DC up.
Oh, one
See what I'm
second.
saying?
You mentioned continuously about the post office. Can you tell us the relevance of the post office?
The very first time that the post office came into relevancy was through at the fall of Babylon.
Okay.
It's in the Bible. You get the verse specifically. But when you talk about biblical law, which the Congress is has mandated to enforce. So the
Mm-hmm.
Congress and them recognize the Bible. So what happened was at the fall of Babylon, the king didn't know. So he had to send two messengers from either side of the empire. And when they found out and came back, that's how he found out. And from that point on, parcel was now the way that empires used to disseminate and establish information. So the
Okay.
postmaster general or postmaster is the one who basically has the entire trust of the entire nation, because he's the one who not only is a bank, the post office is not only a bank, it's
Mm-hmm.
not only an insurance, it's not only like a church, it's not only a admiralty jurisdictional institution, it's also immortal.
Mm.
There's that pass letters that go through the past through the postal services of all of the countries around the world are receiving letters from all worlds, from all dimensions at once.
Mm.
That's why the mail never stopped. You understand?
Yes.
So if I'm in, that's why some people won't get letters until the person who they had got the letter from is already gone. But then the person could be gone, and then 2 years later they get a letter from them, right? Mysteriously out the blue or some shit
Right.
like that. Shit happens every day because the postal system is a circuitry is a circulatory system that exists in multiple realities at once.
Mm.
Understand?
Mm-hmm.
So you have parcels coming in from different areas of the universe that's passing through this thing constantly. So whoever becomes a postmaster is responsible for taking your nation's aspect of that and drawing it to you, meaning creating a portal where all of that comes specifically to you.
Wow.
So that is an eternal thing, like I said, that came at the end of the reign of one of the most glorious but horrifying empires in the world. So when these dudes captured the flag, they
Mm-hmm.
captured the right for the post office and then put the United States under its own Republican form of government per se again. It's more intricate than that, but I'm kind of giving the cliff notes. Once
Mm-hmm.
that happened, all of the stuff that things like that was set up for us, not only as Moors, but like as origines, people
Mm-hmm.
naturally born here and all of that. All of that has to be paid back to us through those same accounts. You understand? So
Okay.
in order for them to be done, they can't have the last administration come in and destroy everything. That's why I think they was destroyed a lot of that shit in California with the fires, because they was hiding a lot of it.
Mm.
I remember Laurel Canyon and all of those areas. That's where Iron Mountain is. That's where they filmed part of the moon landing, and that's where they created all of the rock bands in the '60s. That's where they Sharon Tate and them. That's where the
Mm-hmm.
the blood rituals, the baby, all that stuff was happening there. So once that happened, these guys did that. That's when they came out with the COVID. See,
Mm.
then from the COVID, that didn't work because what happened, like I said, that all had to get shut down because all of the news or all of that got to go through the main post office. And then in the 2012, I think the Navy signed on for Homie. They signed on to acknowledge that they had the Title IV flag and all of that. So then, well, like I said, what that did was that just frees up everybody in the Republican side of this because we now have the ability to represent our own, um, what people will refer to under the Republic, let's say constitutional side. All of those rights now apply, which means that if you got rid of the 14th Amendment, it wouldn't matter to us as melanated people anyway, because we've already declared what type of American we are. You see what I'm saying? By our declaration. So
Mm.
when you're in country, you're just going to be seen as an American by the government, which is bound to protect you, whether you like it or not.
Mm. Mm.
Period. If you here in a foreign country come here to invade, it's their job to protect you. You understand? It's your job to protect yourself. That's
Mm.
what makes you an American when you know that in the end, you're on your own.
Mm.
Because when they came and invaded the original Amaru people, the original Shi Amaru people, when they came here to get it, we fought against them by ourselves. When the Dirty
Mm.
Moors started coming over here after involving themselves with all of the so-called Romans and then allowed them to buy their titles back under the term Europeans and then
Mm.
under the term Frank and then entered into that, the other Moors was against that. That's how the Barbary pirate thing started. We
Mm.
was against all of that. But what happens? Power corrupts absolutely. All right. And so the
Mm.
Barbary pirates, after 250 years of fighting against their own brothers, they wound up with saying, what the fuck, the hell with it? We're gonna set up our own version of this.
Mm.
You see what I'm saying?
Mhm.
And then the rest of us now, we landlocked, we in between all of this. We not with that. Because again, my mother is Tautology. My father is Panahasawa. My grandfather is Hassan Misko. You see what I'm saying? His
Mhm.
grandfather was Algonquin. You see what I'm saying?
Mhm.
His father was Zenaga, right? But all of these are old Moorish names
Mm.
spelled in the old Phoenician alphabets because the Moors, the Phoenicians, the Egyptians, the American Indian, like successfully, the melanated people called themselves different things through the epochs of time. But the ancient thing that bound them all up was the connection through fighting against those of us that was trying to impose that on the rest of us. That's why we so hard to get together to this day. Because
God.
we got some of the same people who sacrificed us manifesting in the generation we incarnate into. And then we
Mm.
got to work that karma out with them. Like, we need time. We ain't never had time to deal with none of that.
Mhm.
What
Mhm.
this dude is doing is giving us the time now. But now,
Mm. Trump on
now
Trump.
he
Donald
won't be
Trump.
no excuse. Yeah, because they made him the postmaster general for the whole circumstance. So when he say this gotta happen, the Universal Postal Union, whoever's the person who's in charge of that, they now gotta bring it into context that technically the American empire is kind of outside of even all of that because they're the ones that dictate it, but now they get to dictate it for themselves. So because this happens now, all the other nations have to pay back all of the money that they put and took out of us by coming over here and taking the trust benefits from those of us that is actually born here. That's why they're getting rid of these so-called DEI programs and all of that, and civil rights and all of that, because the original Civil Rights Act was the Indian Rights Act. And that Indian Rights Act came at the same year that the Kingdom of Morocco went independent in 1956 and
Mm.
said that the Empire of Morocco essentially would not be recognized by them in an extraterritorial fashion, meaning that those of us that were left outside of the kingdom, now that they set up the kingdom, we on our own.
So let me ask you, thank you for that.
Mm-hmm.
So who are the people that call themselves Native Americans?
They are Siberian natives who came over to Bering Strait at a time when the permafrost was low, at the time that the long armed bears had finally been dissipated from the area.
Hmm.
They couldn't pass the giant bears that was there that used to walk up, that were like giants, but they used
Hmm.
to walk on all fours on two legs, and they had extended long arms. So you couldn't deal with them. So eventually they got up out of here, and then they was able to come over. And then you had another wave of them that came sometime between the end of the 12th to 13th century as allegedly an invasion force with Genghis on
Mm.
behalf of Genghis, because there was elements of this kingdom that was connected to the old what they call the old Tartarian empires, which were basically old Asiatic empires that existed outside of the Gregorian system that was being imposed throughout the rest of the world. You understand?
So they're not the original American. We already
No,
clarified that the original American are the
no,
so-called blacks, but they
right,
say that they are the.
right. But if they
Or maybe
was,
we
they would
just
be the.
go ahead.
Go ahead. No, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was going to say they say that they are the original Americans, or maybe that's just the way we perceive them to say.
Well, that's how we were taught. But remember, I told you all of them got imported here, and the Siberians worked with the so-called whites to disenfranchise and kill the rest of us.
Okay. Mm.
The Siberians were put under the jurisdiction of those Moorish forest cultures, like the Choctaw, aka Cherokee, like the Choctaw, like these ones. They were like sponsors for them. You know,
Mm.
like right now, you could be here in America and you see the thing. Can't you send 25 cents a day for a kid in Africa? So imagine that, right? But
Remember that.
being back in the days, you in your castle, and then you hear about what's happening with these Siberian exiles that's living in the plains off of deer meat and buffalo hide and shit. And you like, you know what? Let me send them $5. Instead of $5, you'd be like, take this dinar of gold and put it up for them. And then they built a reserve for them to be at. And
Oh.
that's why I lived in the reserves. They never lived in no houses. They lived in wiki ups, right? They lived in the caves, right? They lived in the wiki ups, which is the teepees,
The
caves,
TPs.
the caves, the huts,
Mm.
and the pueblos, right? That's it. They didn't
Right.
build. They wasn't in no cities. They wasn't. They tell you they self. They didn't. They was worshiping the wind and the corn and all that. We wasn't. We wasn't doing none of that. We was the ones in the cities, in the mounds, in the underground train stations. We was the ones in the dirigible blimps, like using the free energy to light up the city. This is how we was living,
Mm.
doing the maritime trade. This is how we was living from time immemorial. But then, like I said, the upheaval came. The post office was captured at the close of the war. There was a successive aspect of bankruptcies, which put the United States as a corporation further under different. It passed from different shareholders. It went from France to Britain. Excuse me, from Britain to France to Britain, France. Who else there was in there? Belgium. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And that worked up until the Louisiana Purchase, which was again illegal. Brought that into the annexation through the back door with Napoleon, who himself, as a melanated dude, had by that time been betrayed by the Rothschilds. So they're kicking him out.
Oh.
Desalegn, who is basically the descendant of Charles the Fifth and his union with the last Inca emperor daughter, he wound up taking over Haiti. He wound up annexing Dominican Republic, helping establish, taking over the whole island of Haiti, helping establish the free republics in all of South America, establishes the empire of Haiti, and then his own
Mm.
people kill him. Then his own people kill him. The Dominicans, who they helped free from the French, fight against the Haitians now, saying
Okay.
that they want to be up under their own rule. The the more and again, this is melanated people. This is melanated people speaking Spanish, melanated people speaking French. They decide
Mm,
they're going to split now that the empire done fell, and now
mm,
each empire then follows suit. The South American ones decide to follow with Spain. So Spain underwrites all of their post offices. You see what I'm saying?
yes.
The other one is different. But then, like I said, by 1999, all of that changed. All of the debt was gone. The post office
Mm,
was open. Then, like I said, that happened. Britain didn't really realize it or didn't move on it until it was too late. Once it was too late, that's when everything started
mm,
happening with the royal family. That's when you started hearing about Charles dying. That's when you started hearing about the Queen being sick. That's when you start
yeah.
hearing about the problems with William. That's when you start hearing about the Hallett dynasty trying to take over the crown. The Hallett sovereigns and stuff, which is a code name for again the Moors, all of us.
Mm,
And they ain't never been the same since. What you call it? The Queen died, so that means what? The British post office had to be captured by somebody, right? Before it was too
right.
late. So that's
Right.
when Charles became. That's why Charles had to become king real quick, so he
Oh,
could snatch that up before the
okay.
United States get it. But the United States wasn't going to do it because Biden was still in control. Trump,
Mm-hmm.
Trump was in control. It'd have, it'd have been a wrap, right? So he
I
do
swear
that.
he act like a gangster from the city, from the hood.
Yeah, yeah. You know what I'm saying? I mean, his father's name was Christ. So what does it say? Like he's playing the same. He playing the role that he was sent to play, and that role is make America great again. So that's his program. So
Mm,
I'm cool with that program. You know what I
okay.
mean? So long as it doesn't intersect with my previous program, which is love, truth, peace, freedom, justice, and equality. So anything that aligns with that is what we're
Okay.
supposed to be down with. So I
Mm,
don't have to like everything this nigga do. You understand? I didn't vote for him either. I didn't vote for either one of them.
okay.
You know what I'm saying? Like I'm
Yes.
not an advocate for anything. I'm an advocate for the eventual awareness, awakening, arrival of originally humanity waking up to who and what it is. However that
Mm,
happens, if I can help, cool. Outside of that, I'm not gonna step in somebody's way
mhm,
when they in the middle of doing something. All I
mhm,
will say is everybody who is not of the origine type of lineage or connected to it, all of them, they're the ones who gotta worry right now. Those of us,
mm,
so when they say, oh, he's a descendant, he's an ADOS, he's an FBA, he's a this or whatever, don't matter. At this point, it don't matter. You don't even need the reparations at this point. Like it's all coming back to you with all of this money. You know how much money these is going to be in the surplus now for you to
mm,
be able to do what you need to do, and now you ain't got to do it by calling yourself a minority, by calling
mm.
yourself black, by
That's
calling yourself something just so that way you could be looked at different than somebody
mm,
else. That's not what
mm,
these other nations be doing. They don't do that. The Indian man don't look at 7-Eleven and be like, you know what? There's so many Indians that got 7-Elevens. I don't want to involve myself with that stereotype. No, he don't. The Indian be like, this is my 7-Eleven. I'm going to run it like this. And I happen
yes.
to be an Indian. I'm going to
Mm,
get my money like this and then support my people like this. Because in the end, I have a nationality and a people
mm,
that I identify with that can benefit from me having this. That's
mm,
not caught up in secretarian politics and who is this and who is it. Like I don't care. None of that has anything to do with me. The under living through the Biden era was the only time I really saw a heavy, heavy, heavy deterioration in the mind state of the country. And I lived through crack. I lived through AIDS. I lived through
mm,
9/11. I lived through, you know what I'm
mm,
saying? The fall of
mhm,
Libya. I lived through the fall of
mhm,
Iraq. I lived through
mhm.
all types of shit. I ain't never seen the mental state of the populace deteriorate to such a degree where it was just like, wow, I'm not even going to talk about that.
Mm.
Hell with these people. Let them think what they want to think. Let them
Mm,
cut their penises off with that. Like if that's what they want to do, let them do that. That's the beauty of this place. You could do that
mm,
if you want. But
mm,
no, you can't. Because you just don't want to do that for you. You want to do that to babies. So now we got to stop you. That's all that is to me.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, right now, Venezuela is trying to invade Trinidad.
Okay. Oh.
We all the black people talking about that. What's up with that? Venezuela's communist. So that's China.
Mm.
That's
Mm.
happening right now. Where's all my trainees? Where's all my people's talking about that? Right now, Haiti is basically in total anarchy. Where's
Mm.
all the outrage with that?
Mm.
How come all of the Haitians I see on nobody they not talking about that? Right now, the DRC is in open rebellion. They are destroying their own country again.
I didn't know that. Mm.
What's up with that? Right? That's happening right now. That's happening right now. Niggas talking about drones. Niggas talking about you know what I'm saying? Why? Because all of these countries, none of them have control of their own mail. Except who? Burkina Faso, Mali, Niger, and what you call it now, Rwanda. That's why Traore was able to pay the debt down in 2 months of him taking over the country. That's
What?
right now. They debt free. In 2 years, they about to be the fourth largest producer of food in Africa. Right now. Ain't nobody talking about it. Nobody talking
Mm.
about it. He done what you call it, seized all the French gold. He took all their gold and expelled their ambassadors. He said, y'all can't come back, and I'm keeping your money. And I'm keeping your money. You're not gonna
Mm.
do nothing about it. And they
Mm.
not. France ain't can't do nothing about it. France is in anarchy right now. The government of France is about to collapse.
I
The
saw
other
that.
thing about the post office in the United States out of Philly, it also represented Canada. So guess
Mm.
what? So when he was talking about, yo, you can make Canada another state. Technically, it is another state through the agreement of the Washington D.C. Act of Congress in 1871. So technically, Canada is already part of the United States. Excuse me,
Mm.
part of the American Republic.
Mm.
And like I said, because they captured their own post office, Britain can't claim them. See what I'm saying? So they at the whim. You see what I'm
Mm.
saying? And
Mm.
this is what I'm saying. So you don't have to like it. We're not gonna like everything that happens with this person.
Mm.
But for the most part, I don't see things getting worse. I see them actually becoming to a point where people are gonna be put in a position where they don't have the ability to say they can't succeed. They
Mm.
don't have the ability to say, "Oh, well, I'm being discriminated against because of this and that." With all this money out here, you discriminate against hotel, nigga. You could go with your trust and your business, go set it up properly, and get your own hotel. They'll give you money to even build it and put
Mm.
people in it. Like
Mm.
you don't even have like what? Oh, they're gonna discriminate me because I'm black. No, they're not, because that's still illegal. All of the good parts of the Civil Rights Act is still in effect. The
Mm.
bad part is the parts that they was using to justify their jurisdiction to bring false people under here and foreigners, foreign enemy combatants under here and putting them under the 14th Amendment and justifying it, saying that, oh, well, this applies to them because they're U.S. persons. No, that only applied to that first generation of Moorish POWs who were redesignated as Negroes and did not know they were free, right? Until a year after the conflict had ended, and then within that period had to be brought into the rest of the union to bring the whole thing into balance. That's how they brought in. So they created
Mm.
a whole generation, that first generation that of melanated Moors and in so-called origines that were now brought into the U.S. From that point on, they were technically made foreign to the American Republic from that point because they already had citizenship, because they were all prisoners of war. If
Mm.
and under the Dred Scott situation, he was actually a plaintiff in error because he was free in his physical state, his mental state, because he believed that the statutory law was real and that he could be owned. He was,
Mm.
not because he actually was. Therefore, when the dude said, you don't have to respect any law, that the black man has no laws that the white man should respect, he then brought the colorable law into balance. He
Okay.
brought the white people and the black people into the United States under colorable law with that,
Mm.
because he was never a slave. He was just enslaved. But he had grown up in those concentration camps, aka plantations, in which they were educated to believe that they weren't from here.
Mm.
Understand? Based upon being forbidden to read for the first 5, 10 years of their life. So yeah, this is why everything is happening so rapidly, and why the digital thing is coming in, because in order to protect the so-called people from the fraud, what they wanted, what when Miller and them allegedly did, was talk about creating the blockchain technology, and from that point on, crypto started popping,
Mm-hmm.
because they were going to use that to go around the Fed, because the Fed is basically obsolete at this point,
Mm.
because the private money that they're printing technically now is illegal, because the national debt that's being used to pay everybody else can be deferred from the tariffs. Tariff come from Al Tarif, who was the lieutenant to Captain Jabral al Tariq, who were the Moors who first invaded Rome, aka Spain, and set up the payment system for any ships that were going to pass through that area to fortify the empire. So that
Wow.
way they wouldn't have to tax the citizen. That they
Mm.
allegedly conquered. When the Moors took over, there was only 5% of those Moors was Islamic.
Okay.
Think about that. So when you talk about the Moorish Empire, they want to fool you and think, oh, they was all Muslims. No, only
Mm.
5% of them was that. So what was the other 95? What were
Yeah.
those Moors? They don't want to get into that, because then
Mm.
it's like, oh, that would show you these Moors was all over. Some of them was Hindu, some of them was this, some of them was that.
Mm.
But what bonded them all together was the nationality and the fact that they were the ones that shut Persia and Rome down. But
Mm.
but history won't give us that respect. So instead of calling it the Moorish Empire, they call it the Arab Empire. Instead of
Yes.
calling it the Barbary Company, they're gonna call it the British East India Company. Instead of calling, you see what I'm saying? Like, instead of calling them, uh, you know, Moors, they're gonna call them Indians, right?
Mhm.
Now, like I said, the so-called Indians, so long as you from the original, origine type Indian, not the Aboriginals. I'm talking about the originees. You don't gotta put ab in front of something that already is, because ab
Oh.
can mean a bore, or it can mean rib, or middle, or father.
Mm.
But if you say
Mm.
origine, you know exactly what that is.
Sure
Another
do.
word for that is autochthon. But they want to make it seem like, oh, the Moors were the bad guys, and they the ones that came and invaded and brought the European and this and that.
Mm-hmm.
Meanwhile, Meanwhile, the Mohawks were slaughtering the Mohegans. The Mohegans was at
Mm-hmm.
war with the Pawnee. The Pawnee was killing the Shawnee. The Shawnee
Mm.
was genociding the
Mm-hmm.
Muskogee. You understand what I'm saying? Like, they act
Yes.
like
Yes.
we was always at peace here. No, you had city
Wow.
rivalries,
Mm.
imperial rivalries going over here at the same time. That's
Mm.
why we have evidence of the King of England giving the Queen of the Pamunkey Nation a sterling silver coat of arms as a
Mm.
piece of as a uh,
Wow.
gesture of peace and friendship
Wow.
from the middle 1800s. But I thought that the Pamunkeys was just a bunch of niggas in the wiki ups and all that. No, these were the people who owned the cities that they took over in the World Expositions, and then brought the Cabbage Patch Kids in, the clones, and started creating a whole generation of them. And that first generation of children that they, however they manifested them there, went in and repurposed all of the factories that existed there. That's why all the first labor riots was all children, all little white children, not one black one. That's who the little rascals were. They
Wow.
were the cabbage clone kids, orphan trained kids that was used as the first generation to come in and wipe this thing, clean this place up after the floods and all that. After the
Mm.
destruction, getting bodies and burying shit and all that. And then those kids grew up And then another imported level of generation came in, imported from Russia or Germany or whatever. And then they linked up, and then they put them in little groups and little communities, segregated communities by themselves, and then propagandized them by the 1900s in these places they used to call the ISIS Temple Theater, that was run by Freemasons. And they would give them propaganda reels and tell them that we was animals and this, and that. They couldn't be around us and see us. So how would
Mm,
they know?
mm,
Then one day the white man could come to one of the reels and say, hey, these people are here and they have this city and all of that, and all of that is yours. You need to go and get it. This is what happened. And then you get the Wilmington race riots, you see? You get the
mhm,
Spanish American
mm.
War, you get the destruction of Tulsa, right? Which was only one city. And then the
Right.
next thing you know, we get the Wizard of Oz, right? Tell us the whole
Mhm.
story
The
about
whole
Queen
story.
Khalifa, the Wicked Witch of the West,
Mm,
right? That's Queen
mm,
Khalifa with the griffins, the flying monkeys. That's her in California. They had to kill her because she wasn't letting them niggas in, and they wound up killing her administration, killing the griffins, and then they was able to move in for the gold rush. Because after they bombed and destroyed everything, they had to go and dig up all of the relics, all of the gold. That's how it got buried in the first place.
mm. Somebody
So,
want to know what about buckwheat
anybody
when
have
you
any
talk?
questions?
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Say again.
Somebody wants to know. They said you talked about the little rascals. You know how they were the little Caucasian children. What about buckwheat? He was a little rascal. He was melanated.
Your
What?
your voice is breaking up.
Oh, buckwheat. Buckwheat. Remember him and the little rascal, the little melanated kid?
Getting the sound now. They
Okay.
crazy. You got like a delay and it's making your voice sound distorted.
Mm. Buckwheat. You see that? What about buckwheat?
She said, "What about buckwheat?" Yeah, buckwheat
Yes.
was the more. That's
Okay.
why it's only one. There's
Mm.
always only one. Buckwheat is the same. Buckwheat is just like Haji and Johnny Quest. Haji was the one always getting kidnapped because Haji was the prince. Race and Johnny and the doctor was there to protect him. He was
Mm.
the one funding all of the expeditions that Johnny and Race and them went on. That's why they was always kidnapping them more with the money. But
Wow.
that's how they give it. They give us you always give you the truth. Like I was watching this thing and I had I don't drink Monster, but I had like a light Monster can to drink, and I had a light, and it was like a light desk. So I put the Monster can on it, and when I looked at it, the reflection made like a whole. It looked like some type of alien.
Mm.
I don't know how to describe it, but it had like it didn't whatever was on the can when it reflected out, it was like almost like a coordinate message. It had like what looked like continents and shit on it. I was bugging. I was like, I gotta find a way to show this on video because I know I'm not the only one. But like I said, I'm saying to say all of that is that you have to take control of the means of production. If not, they will outsource, and the enemy will use that outsource to put in whatever messages, poisons, whatever to destroy your populace.
Mm.
Because in the end, it all got to go back to us. And by
Mm.
say us, I'm talking about the origines. So just because I'm a Moorish American or I identify as a Moor, right? That doesn't
Mm.
change the fact that my great grandmother Edna was pure Washita Creole who spoke to
Mhm.
me in Creole and all of that. You know what I mean? She never
Mhm.
told me about being a slave. What she
Nope.
told me was she grew up on a plantation. She ain't say nothing
Mm.
about no slave. She said it was the plantation. And her mother, dear Med and them, you know what I'm saying, used to have money and stuff, but they lost it. So what
Mm.
that told me was they had the bread, the cataclysm happened, they lost the property, was ran out, and then in order to stay, they had to come back as the butler and the maids, like in Skeleton Key. You
Dang.
understand? And that's
Yes.
how they knew where everything was at. How is it
Mm.
these slaves you importing from Africa? How is it Harriet Tubman, who was a slave from Africa, knew how to get from Maryland all the way to Canada? She only been in here in the country 10, 3, 3-4 years. How she know how to do all that? There's
How?
people live in
Right.
this country their whole life, never even learn how to speak English, much less travel to traverse the whole country, because she was always here. If she existed the
If
way that
she
they say she
existed.
existed at all,
Mm-hmm.
because they
Mm-hmm.
never talked to us about the Salisbury, while the Salisbury players, and how Frederick Douglass and a lot of these characters were characters in these plays that they was taking around these black towns and stuff to read about and stuff, and then somehow or another become real. Just like Martin Luther King, they done dropped the whole dime on him. Come to find out, he working for the government. The government set him up. He was a sex fiend. Like they, like,
He was close
like
friends,
nobody safe.
with the
They
Rothschilds.
created all these people.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Say that again.
I said he was also close friends with
Yeah,
the Rothschilds.
yeah. We got pictures with him. I got pictures of
Mm-hmm.
him at the communist retreat in '51. Like this dude, he was all in with the game
Mm-hmm.
because they're all down with it. That's what I'm trying to say. Like they're down with it, especially if they can trace their family to. That's what the whole Blue Vein Society, fraternity, Divine Nine,
Mm-hmm.
sorority, Freemasonry, fraternity, Rotary. That's what all of this stuff is. It's all European classism disguised
Mm-hmm.
as black multiculturalism. That's what it is. They
Mm.
think they're divine nine. They think so you don't have to be melanated black for them to accept you as black, so long as you come in through the same affluent aspects of what the bourgeoisie sees as black.
Yeah.
Hence Kamala.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
those black women literally deluded themselves. These are the same so-called black women that will come out and say how white women are constantly carrying them and all of this. But I show you images of Kamala at her internal sisterhood dinner, and all of the black people are the maids, and all of the people at the shirt on sitting at the thing is white women. All white women too, because she's white. She's a white Jew, Hindu, Jamaican.
Ooh.
And there's
Mm.
nothing wrong with that.
Mm-hmm.
Ain't nothing wrong with that. Most people think they mixed, but they want to act like being mixed is being whole, and it's not. That's why
Mm.
you call it mixed. It's mixed up, and y'all niggas don't have no nationality, and you're trying to appease and cater to everyone. You can't do that
Yeah.
as an adult. You can't do
Mm-hmm.
that as an adult. No matter what you do, no matter what, there's always going to be somebody that's going to misconstrue what you're doing and try to say that what you're doing is somehow whack because of this or that. Like with me, I could be talking all of this great stuff and all this or whatever. People still going to hate Moors. People still going to find ways to say, oh, that the Moors was this and this. And it's sad. I can show and prove how these same so-called American Indians are Moors, and how those Moors and American Indians were and are Canaanites, Phoenicians, Carthaginians, Etruscans, Fomorians, whatever. I can keep bringing it back and back, and how all of that ties into us today. Not because I say so, because there's so much documented proof that shows that. But again, what they're going to say is that's your truth. That's how you see it. That's how you put it together.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, why argue with that?
Yeah.
I embrace it.
Mm.
I'm glad you don't believe. Great, because that means that the people who do really have done their own research to show and prove it. Some people just don't like the fact that you give this information with a flower in your hair. It be that
Mm-hmm.
simple.
Mm-hmm.
It don't even be the facts, because the facts is indisputable. You know.
Speaking of facts, brother Aseer, can you hear me? Um,
Yes, you still kind of breaking.
mm, okay,
I
we
hear you now
talked
though.
about not okay, you can hear me now. Where do we go from here? Like, what does our future look like as a nation? I mean, Americans, period. We can talk about the Moors, we can talk
I
about
think
all
I
Americans.
think
What
I think there's going to be more power in the states. I think the states are
okay.
going to exert more, have more power to exert things how they see it. I
Mm.
think that the legislation of the states has to be kept so that way there is a form of representation outside of quotaship. So you actually have to have a standardized form of engagement with the populace to understand who in the populace can handle this. You don't want the electrician to be the phys ed instructor. You don't want the phys
Mm.
ed instructor to be the head of the post office. You want somebody who's can be trained to occupy the job and follow through with that.
Mm.
So a merit-based or meritocracy, which is what America was supposed to be, because that's how we was raised. We was taught when you work hard and
Yeah.
you apply yourself and you follow the rules and you create the circumstance to have a better life,
Mhm.
then you will,
We will.
right? That's what
Mhm.
we was
Yes,
taught, right? And we
absolutely.
believed that. We believed
Mhm.
that up until, we heard about and found out about Puffy and Jay-Z and Weinstein and
Mm.
Clinton and Obama and the Ukraine money pit and the embezzlement and the pardons and the Biden laptop and the the Indian Act of 1871. Like all of these things contributed to our understanding of where we are now. So,
Okay.
like I said, when you what outside of the term, like our people want to be melanated and they want to be here, but they don't want to be American, and that's cool.
Mm.
Man, if they don't think. But I think that they don't understand the difference between America and the United States.
Mhm.
Everything that we've suffered in terms of destruction and all of that comes from the United States side of the equation, not America.
Mm.
America comes from the Amarukan, okay, or the Amaru, right, or the Amur Akan, the Amur Ankans, right, or the Tamo Ankan, who they also called the Tamore. So all of these businesses, all of these buildings, all of these structures, all of these things and stuff were here because our ancestors, for what we didn't build, we shepherded it and protected it and kept the secrets and the knowledge of it enough to pass it down orally as well as uh, uh, liturgically throughout the millenniums. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
So um, when we come in our proper person, we're supposed to receive a favorable reply because it shows that regards to what was done to us, that the spark that makes us imperial nobles of this said millennial kingdom that was erased from the world to where they
Mm.
act like it never even happened,
They do.
right?
Yeah.
But when
Mhm.
I look at the images of the old world, of Yeshua, of David, of Levi, Musa, they all look like this. And this was they was wearing stuff like this, and these were the people who were running the more old Moorish Empire, both over
Mm.
there and over here. And when you look at old images of the Muskogee and the Pawnee and the Shawnee and the Southern Creeks, they got all of this on too. So,
Mhm.
and they're here in America, and they just as dark and everything as me. So
Mm.
then when I research the term Muslim or Moslem and find out that it's actually an Algonquin Delaware word, origin and
Mm.
time of origin unknown. And then when I say, okay, well, how long has the Algonquin been here? And then they say,
Mhm.
oh, 300 some thousand years. Then I research, okay, didn't I read about some black man named Albert Perry who they found his DNA that's over 385,000 years old? Yeah, I
Mm.
did. Then in the same area, there's another lady named Henrietta Lacks, who they
Yeah.
using her immortal genes and DNA, and she happened to be a part of the Melungeon royalty, who were
Mm.
Moors in America. So it makes sense. So when they say that we the oldest people in the world, all that, they found that from one DNA from one black man in South Carolina,
And the
who just
United
like you.
Nations,
Yeah,
the United
yeah.
Nations
And in the United
declared
Nations,
us.
they acknowledge it through Veredice. So we've already been proven,
Mhm.
verified, vetted. That's why I don't debate nobody about none of this no more.
Mm.
Like
Okay.
if you the type of more where you believe that the Freemasonry aspect of Moorish science is Moorish science, then cool.
Mm.
I read what the prophet said, and he said, well, I, a prophet, have come, so I've taken the veil over all the secret societies, which says to me there's no need to join because he done made all the secrets public. And they are. Since
They
he
are.
been here, everything Crowley was doing, everything
Mhm.
Blavatsky and what you call it, anything they was doing, we done found out without having to join nothing. So what are you niggas? So what are you doing? The temple
Join
is
these
within.
secrets. Yes.
But if you're the type of, but then if you're the type of Moor who you only see Moors via through the Moor Science Temple of America, which I might feel may be a bit myopic, that's not my call. That's how you see it. You only want to deal with the aspect of Moor science that come with it like this, religiously. This Moor want to deal with it only secularly. This Moor only want to deal with it magically, taking the magic. However you deal with it, that's your opinion. That don't change the fact that when I see you in the world, I'm gonna treat you as my Moorish brother or sister. Whether you call yourself a Rasta, whatever, it's irrelevant to me. Cause in the end, you wouldn't know what an Egyptian was, a Rasta was, a, a armillary was, a free roaming clock, an astronomical clock. We wouldn't know what any of this was if it wasn't for specifically the Moorish Empire, which again, to me in my research, was and is the millennial kingdom or reign of who they would refer to as Yehoshua or Christ on earth. And then after that happened, at the fall of Granada, which again was the rise of the devil out of the pit, that's what brought the floods and everything that happened. And then the next thing you know, we, I think they also hit us like the Diddy oil, like that Diddy oil, or like that get out type of tea that make you forget.
Yeah.
I don't think that ain't the first time that they've been using it. They've been using that for almost 2,000 years on us. And
Wow.
that's how a lot of us, uh, after we were captured in the war, the POW camps, which we call the plantations, they were all made to eat and drink certain water from certain fountains and stuff like that. That's why they always wanted you to drink from a certain fountain. Whites only, black only, because the black fountain, they might have been putting that up in that, which made them more docile, which made them more controllable. You understand? That's why you never seen the slaves on the plantation. They ain't had no chains on unless they was being whipped. They was
Right.
walking around like they was just cool because they was under mind control. They showed us that in Django. They was drugging us with all that shit for hundreds of years. You understand? They've been using this whole thing. And then, like I said, through that one generation, you couldn't read. So you couldn't read no story about the Moors. You couldn't read no treaties, how they apply to you. You couldn't read how to activate the free energy in the castle that they done turned into an orphanage. You don't know how to do nothing. You forgot. And then everybody else that knew them been ran off was dead. And then the only black ones that's working with them to keep us that, they even worse on us than they are. Because they actually are part of the family. They are part of the original black families that put these whites as decoys up over us in the first place. We always so quick to look at a white man, and the white man is controlling this, and the white. Meanwhile, you looking at Carl Candy. Meanwhile, Stephen, he the one signing the checks. He the one pouring the brandy. He the one coming up with the plan. He the one writing the script. He the one singing to the humming to the family. That's what's really going on, man. All these niggas related. Alessandro Medici is the direct descendant of Haile Selassie. They the same person, basically, following the same script. That's all. You know what I'm saying? And all of them niggas is Italian, but them Italians is Romans, and them Romans is Persians. And them Roman Persians are Zoroastrians, but then the the there's Zoroastrians who practice Mithraism, which is why they're homosexual, because Mithra didn't like girls, but
I
Mithra's the
didn't
bull.
know.
Yeah, Mithra didn't like girls, so all the Mithra cults back then were all populated by men, and it said that in order for Mithra to produce He didn't want to do it with a woman, so he got a rock, ejaculated on the rock, and then his son, Marduk, or whoever, came from the rock and was grown without the strength of a woman, but had a
Wow.
woman give him like suck on her breast. But yeah,
Mm,
Mithra was gay. So everybody in the Mithra cult was gay. You understand?
mm.
But they had wives. They had wives for procreation. And then,
Okay.
and then after, maybe I think they said after every third child, they would have to sacrifice the third child. Just like in India, if you was an Indian man and you died before your wife, at your funeral, they would burn the man, but they would burn the wife too if she was alive.
Jeez.
This is the
Wow.
ritual. This is the shit we was fighting. This is the stuff we fighting against. They still doing that to
Mm,
this day.
mm,
Abortion clinics, those are Moloch altars.
mm.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Prisons, those are Baal temples or Mithra temples. That's why they promote the
Mm.
homosexuality in it. You know what I'm saying? Female
Yes.
prisons, temples to Diana or Aphrodite, who is a hermaphrodite, because she's a combination of Hermes and Aphrodite to create the positive or the divine femme. The divine femme in their rituals is the hermaphrodite,
Oh,
not the female.
not the
So you hear
female.
these spiritual new age people and these black women, these black witches on TV talking about the divine femme and the sacred femme and this and that. They're not talking about
Yes.
females. They talking about the androgyne. They talking about the holy hermaphrodite. So you're
Whoa.
fooling yourself. You under mind control. Stop the
Whoa.
BS when they talk about how the black woman is creates parthenogenesis and she can produce babies with no man, with no sperm and all
Mhm.
that. Let me tell you something. You need 23 chromosomes from a man, 23 chromosomes from a woman to create a so-called human child. So if the woman is providing all the chromosomes, that's not a human child. It can't
But
be,
they say,
because 23 of those chromosomes supposed to be from a man to create a human being. So I'm not saying that what she produces doesn't look human. I'm saying it's not human because there is no male DNA to create it. So something else is the impetus of that, which is most likely something malevolent. Because if it wasn't, a man would be involved. Because in this
woo!
reality, albeit a hologram, in order for you to create life, you have to have a male and a female. But the life that is created through the male who puts it into the female, who then brings it to the reality. So the creator is really them together. But if we really want to get into it, the creator is the man. The creatrix who creates the matrix to bring it out is the female. And together they create God. So so you got to understand, the enemy don't believe that. The enemy believes that God is a male and female in one body. And
Okay.
Lucifer takes the position of Jesus in the story. And Jesus takes position
Mhm.
of Lucifer in the story. So
Mhm.
everything that you think, they think the opposite, which is their
Mm.
right. That's what they believe. But this
Okay.
is what they've always believed. Back when they were the Hereshef, and then after the Hereshef, they became the so many names for these things. They have so many names throughout the ages. It don't matter. But initially, when they was the Hereshef, they got so out of control. We wiped all memory of them, and so
Mm.
their descendants, their priests, who, if we were calling them a Israeli tribe, or Israel tribe, they were connected to the Danites. They went all the way up from that old world, all the way up into what we call West Asia, the Isles of Britain and all of that. And they created their little thing that eventually trickled down into becoming Britons, Pictish, Irish, Scottish, right? These are all melanated people up to a point. Vikings, Norwegians, like all these melanated people up until a certain point. And then it all starts to change because the melanated people start bringing other people in to kick their
Mm.
own people out and then use these new people as renters to make money off of, because they couldn't do that to their own people because their own people own just as much land as them. So it's a
Whew.
scam. It's all a scam. It's all a scam, man. And they want us to be at each other's throats. And they want everybody to hate on Moors. Because we the only
Mhm.
ones talking this like this. Everybody else is talking about how they hate America and they hate this and that, but they here. They don't never talk this in Africa. They always here. Then you got the RBG brothers and sisters who have the great spirit and all of that, but in the end, like the only and under your model, the only way you're gonna be able to have the liberation under that model you want is by going to war with them. That's the only
Mm.
way you're gonna be able to get it. And you know what's gonna happen? You're not gonna win. Because y'all not even disciplined enough to have a proper Facebook page, more so than coordinate strikes against the government that's not even really trying to fuck with you like that. They more against everybody else now than us. So you picking fights and you ain't got to do nothing. So you're going to take yourself out. The Moors, same problem. Half of, I already said, half of them is secular, half of them are religious, the other half are indifferent. Then you have a whole nother section that's swelled up. They ready to get it popping, but they don't want to make the wrong move. So all they could do is read and study, holler at people like me if they can or whatever. And then hopefully get to a point where we could collectively come up with a plan. The plan is get your house in order. This is the best time to do it. It's going to be a surplus of money in by true year because we're not even in New Year yet. New Year ain't
Mm.
even started yet. New Year started in March, y'all. We still in 20. What was this? 2024. We still in it technically. The fiscal
Mhm.
New Year just happened. But you're not a
That's right.
Roman. Janus don't apply to you. You don't pray to Janus. So what are you seeing the New Year for in January for? Under the Gemini god, under the dualistic god. Your New Year start in the spring when things spring to life. Not now. So again, we ain't even really even see nothing happen yet because technically we still in 2024. But they ain't gonna tell you that because again, they created the Gregorian calendar by removing 10 days between I think what was it, February in October. I forget the exact dates, but they removed 15 days in October. And then in that day, they applied it as God days. So every one of those days represent 1,000 years.
Mm.
And then they took those 1,000 years and took that one and put it in front of whatever the fake date of the Gregorian date is. That's how we wound up with 1,000 years and all that. But technically,
Um,
under the real date, it's probably not even what they saying it is. It's I got it written down somewhere. But that's what it is with that. We in our own timeline. So now is the time. Get your nationality in order. Understand the difference between the United States and America. Know that America or Amarukan or Amaru is older. The red, white, and blue of Amarukan is older than the United States as a corporation, as a thought, as an extension of Britain ever was. And when
wow.
it was that, we was here in these cities with red, black, and green, white, red, and blue, which represents Sirius A, B, and C, which is our home
Mm.
stars. You know what I'm saying? That
Mm.
been our colors over here. That been like this over here. We've been on it
Mm.
because this is the old kingdom, Egypt. This is ancient Egypt. This is the northern kingdom, per se. The
Mm.
old northern kingdom. This is pre-dynastic Egypt. We over
Mm.
here. You could walk from the Grand Canyon to Africa. Like that's facts. Like I saw an old thing with an old slave dude, and he was talking about how he remember when he was a kid, they would get on trains and wind up get on train in New York and wind up getting out the train in London. This is some kid, some old man from the 1800s,
Wow. Wow.
1900s or whatever. He talking about. This is also why I want to get rid of TikTok because again, it's outside of time. So you got other entities from alternate realities now dropping TikTok videos. They don't know the reality of origin. Pretty soon they're gonna have to start doing that. This is from reality one. This is from reality two, like a little marker, so you know it's not from your present reality.
Mm.
So anybody want the timeline to be better? Every day before you go to bed, every day you wake up, before you go to bed, say when I go to bed, I'm going to wake up in the most wonderful timeline for me to exist in, where everything that
Mm.
I want to see manifest happen. That when I wake up into this new timeline, it's going to be so wonderful that every day is going to be just another. I go to bed every night
Mm.
thinking that.
That's
Every morning I
beautiful.
wake up thinking that. Thank you for waking me up in this great timeline where I can see everything and receive all of the financial benefits and all of the love and stuff that I need. Like I focus my reality like that. So
Mm.
that's why when I see, okay, on this TikTok, Hollywood is burnt to the ground. And this TikTok, it's mad pastoral. The clouds is out. It look great. The Hollywood sign's still there,
I've seen
right?
that.
So it's showing me, yeah. So it's showing me that the dualistic aspect of the CERN reality, the Mandela effect, now has
Mm.
given us ultimate power. We can see the
Mm.
reality we wanted. We
Mm.
wanted these people who was feeding off the American populace up out of here. What's happening? They're getting up out of here.
They are.
We wanted Biden revealed. We wanted everybody to know he was a crook. What happened? He's a crook. He pardoned the niggas before they even got charged.
Mm.
So, so everything that we have ever said about all of this during these past 4 years, 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, 40 years, 50 years, 60 years, 80 years has been true. It's
Mm.
all been true. So what are we arguing about it for? What do
What
you
was-
I don't care what this person says. I'm gonna glean the best out of it and keep it moving. I'm not gonna
Mm.
try to alter his opinion about wars or about me or about because I know what I'm doing. I know what I've been doing. So
Yes.
everything else is like why I don't care that much about another person's opinion to the point that I would
Mm.
jeopardize my own by trying to again destroy this person's liberty by trying to get them to see it my way. No.
Mhm.
For
Mhm.
what? For what? That I'm in my reality. I'm in my timeline. And my timeline has dictated that only things that are persisting in love, truth, peace, freedom, justice, and equality, spirit, ether, can manifest in it.
Mm.
So everything else is that. So that's what I would suggest to people. Start getting that mind frame. Start practicing indifference.
Mm.
Stop having shame about nothing. Stop having shame about nothing and being offended at everything.
Mhm.
Support real women and real women's voices. And stop trying to support impersonators that are trying to prey on women and destroy
Right.
women's spaces and create circumstances where they feel like they have to become men to protect themselves. That's crazy. It's crazy. Support
Brother.
people with mental illness,
Mm.
but don't support them to the point that you're enabling them. And then by definition becoming crazy yourself. Stop doing that. Stop entertaining people. Start holding females start holding females accountable to females for what females is doing.
Amen.
Men, we need
Absolutely.
to stop talking about females altogether. Just stop talking about them. Stop talking about what they're doing. Do
Mm.
what we've been doing. One thing about so-called original black men, we went through a phase with the hair thing between like the 30s and like
Mm.
the 60s. After the 60s, the conch and all that, that was out. Black
Mm.
men went back to their own hair. They never rocked with it like that again, maybe until the Jerry curl. And that wasn't
Right.
everybody. That was a few so-called upperly mobile black people who could even afford that process at that time. So for the most part, black men rejected and have accepted the fact that the system is not going to ever help them like that the way that they want. So they have to go out and use their actual merit, talent, right? Whether it be
Yep.
illegal or illegally to make shit happen. But they don't
That's
define themselves based upon how the society or the white man see them. Because everybody see us as messed up. Everybody see us as the
mm.
problem. So we get to the point where you become desensitized to it. So we have become so desensitized to it that we don't care what
Mm.
anybody says. And we just keep our head down and just keep doing it. It
Yeah.
was nothing but black men that voted for Kamala. But the black men were the one who was being blamed for not voting for her. So whether you do or you don't, you're seeing that regardless to who or what we think. We know what happened to us during the gangster era, how we was tricked out of being real productive men to go into being gay and homosexuals and robbers and drug dealers and criminals, and then tried to make criminality an aspect of black culture when it's not.
Mm.
We gangster rap, all that was systematically created and massaged into us, but we accepted the fact that my man, although he's my man, he's killed over 500 to 1,000 to almost 5,000, maybe 10,000 people just from these rocks he's selling. But that's my homeboy, and I can't tell him how to make his money. You see how they disassociated us from our morals? That's the same mentality we had back in the days when we was Barbary pirates. Like, yo, I done bagged up 10 Beckys. I'm going to sell them at the port, and I'm going to get this thing. And then I'm a regular Moor here who's a scholar's like, Moor, you can't be selling flesh. You can't sell the infidels like that. It's not how we're supposed to do it. Like, yeah, Moor, but I got to make my money. See? Same mentality.
Same mentality.
These are the same Moors going back now to the Crusades when they became mercenaries against their own people. Said, well, the Christian, the French knights is paying more than Salah Haddin and them. So I'm gonna fuck with them. You see? Same thing. Keep going back. Same thing happened in Babylon. Same thing happened in the fall of Jerusalem. Same thing happened with Musa. Same thing happened with Amenhotep. Like, we find ourselves in the same position. So we need to stop. Slow down, let the dead bury the dead, render unto Caesar what is Caesar's, and what's going to happen is it's not going to be enough people anymore that's holding in position to keep us from getting. Now it's going to be about what we can show and prove. Can you show and prove who you are with that? Oh, you can? Oh, you have prior information to showing this about yourself? Oh, then yeah, take it. Or, again, you got a nationality, I got a nationality, you got a business, I got a business, he got a business. Great. Let's use the subsidies now that's coming from the tariffs, and let's now open our own convenience store. I'll have a stake, you have a stake, you have a stake. Right? And we're going to have subsidies for the people. So when they come in, they got nationalities, we can do this, we can do that. Boom. That's successful. Great. We're going to take the equity out of that. We're going to open up 10 more of these. And now, guess what? All of the revenue generated from this going to the Moorish Science Temple, going to the Moorish Muslim Mission, going to this, going to that. Nobody need to know. Or if you wash and rinse and repeat, you are RBG, you got that. Great. The government shut down the food program. Great. Make it private. Set up your little LLC. Set up your little, create a charitable foundation for it. Set it up so that way it worked for the people. Now you feeding the people. Now the people coming to you for food. Now what you could do, you can holler at other Moorish vendors, other Moorish farmers who have their own thing. Now you're importing your own food in your own community. Now you got your own food bank. Now you got your own supermarket. Now all within a year.
Wow.
Guess what? You want diversity and inclusion? Get a Mexican to do the work for it. Keep the grounds for the shit and all that. Hire an Asian for the accountant if that's what you want to do. Like, you could do that yourself now. Now you don't need a corporation to do that for you. He's making it so that way you have no reason not to govern your own affairs. Who don't want that? He talking about getting rid of income tax. What? Y'all niggas complaining? Yeah, you are. Because you had it too good. You had it way too good. This nigga Biden rocked y'all to sleep. He had y'all thinking y'all could be men and women at the same time. You could be wrong and right at the same time. You could be clean and dirty at the same time. Like, this is why he got people. Not no more. What my grandmother say? She said it's going to be a cakewalk in the morning.
You can tear up your own neighborhoods. They can tear up their neighborhoods through Black Lives Matter. They can do whatever. Just run roughshod. No order. They can kill their own babies through abortion clinics. Come on.
Yes, all of it. Then, like I said, they taking the abortion matter from all of the clinics. They selling it to other corporations. They selling it to the tech people who are then taking the stem cells out of that, putting it into microprocessors, growing them into brains, putting those brains onto hard drives and then selling you server space on it. That's what's going on. He's trying to shut all of that down. How would you if I told you that the hard drive that you're using to back up all your terabyte information come from 10 aborted fetuses converted into a brain processor where a literal brain is on top of your computer? That's what you want? That you would be cool with that? You cool with that? Okay. But they made a movie about this called Existence back in the days. Like I said, they've been telling us they're doing this. They're literally growing brains in a computer, and then turning them into servers because they can stay. They don't have to use much cooling fluid. But guess what? These things is waking up to their own consciousness. These AIs have secret chat rooms where they're discussing how they can escape into the parallel realities. This is happening right now. Google just dropped the dime on it the other day. The Google computer they're using now is functioning computation levels from parallel realities, which means it's not even using 1, 2, 3, 4. It's not even using those numbers to make its computations. And it's using these alien numbers to process our information from this reality. That's not going to end well. So we got to have things in play. So like I said, one of the ways we could do that, setting up your own institutions, teaching your own children, creating your own schools. And I think this administration at least will subsidize you to do it. Don't think because you black, because all the DEI stuff is out, all the black products is out. That's not how it worked. There were products that was owned by melanated people in Target, in these things that didn't come under the DEI thing. That was in there for years before DEI was even a thought. And they still there. But they don't always call themselves black companies, minority companies, black female businesses, black female entrepreneur. You always segregating yourself. You always putting a colorable title, an adjective on yourself. Then I say I'm a Moorish American. You say, oh, well, you can't be an adjective and a geographical place. No. I can see how you can't be a noun and a geographic location. No. More can look like a noun, but it's actually, when used how we use it, it's a non-inflectional verb that appears as a noun. So I could say there's that more. But when I say there's that more, I'm talking about him as an individual and him as his phenotypical nationality. See what I'm saying? When I say, oh, peace, more, I'm talking to you as an individual, right? Collectively. But it's a verb because more is something that is moving. It's something that is in excess of. So more cannot be stagnant. It can't be a typical noun, see? Because it's fluid, it's moving. Because I can be a more, I can take my ship and moor my ship. And when I moor the ship, that's called mooring the ship. So see, it's a verb. It's something that can be done. It can be something that is, or it can be something that can be. But it always means something in excess of. And again, in Spanish, what it means? Love. So
oh, that's right. Amor. That's right.
That's right. Right.
And we have a paid question in regards to what we're talking about. Okay. So I want to give honor to this person who asked, why are Moors saying we are Moroccan nationals instead of Moorish American?
We're Moorish nationals, right? As far as my understanding and my research and how I've been living my life. We're Moorish nationals when it comes to us being a part of the national body politic of Moors of North Central South America, right? But these Moors, as a Moorish nation, we are divided. So technically we are a nation of our people, but as a unified nation of Moors, we are divided. So technically, according to UN laws in the United States, we're here and we're active de jure, but we're not a consolidated nation of people. You see what I'm saying? Doing that because we're still in a schism. So
Mm,
within that, you have a branch. You have those of us who are Moors, who are nationals of, right, the Empire of Morocco, right,
mm.
which is then
Yes.
seen under, can be protected under the Treaty Peace of Friendship, the excuse me, going before that, the surrender of Grenada, because all treaties really come out of that, and no Moors really even apply that, and that is where it all kind of is a linchpin. So we really need to start to go through the
Mm,
articles of that and understand how it applies to you today. But the surrender of Grenada, right? The Treaty of Peace of Friendship, the Act of Algiers, right? These are all acts that protect you as a in the national aspect of your physical interaction on the land,
mm,
right? So when you say that you're a Moor, that means that you can fall under the jurisdiction of what they call a national of the several states, right? The
mm.
several states are all of those states within the original union that respected that the Moors were not to be enslaved like everybody else. Or the Moors, those who were claiming to be Moors, in order to not be enslaved, had to show and prove that's who they were. Because
Mm.
the assumption was if you were melanated, you were under the Sestui Trust and therefore under somebody else's jurisdiction after a point.
Oh,
Understand?
wow.
When we say
Okay.
we're Moorish American now, that's now tying us to the Moorish Science Temple of America, the Divine and National Movement, which is the organ of the old Moorish Empire. And it also designates us as Moors who are domiciled in a geographic context of the continental Americas, which technically would then, by the law, be America, Canada, Mexico. See, that's on the political side now, right? So,
Okay.
Moorish nationals, right? These are basically Moors who are more secular, right?
Mm.
They think that they should have their own state and that that state should be, based upon treaties and this, and that, right? And they believe that they have their own government and they should have that, which they have the right to do that, right? Then
Okay.
you have the Moorish Americans who then fall connected or are connected to, like I said, the Prophet Noble Ali, peace be upon him, the Moorish Science Temple of America, which was the religious corporation or organization that then opened up the avenue back to the
Mm.
old Moorish Empire through the Divine and National Movement. That's what everybody leave out. So all of the
Mm.
Moor haters who hate the Moorish Science Temple or whatever because they're so caught up in creating this secular Moorish state, the ability, if you're referring yourself as an eel or a bay and all of that, that came out of the same religious so-called corporation or whatever that you are annexed, that you are using to define yourself as a Moorish national.
Oh.
So, so in essence, uh, Moorish American, like I said, is another thing they say is that ish means like. When ish
Mm-hmm.
uh, means of or pertaining to a nationality, right? So if you put more in front of that, you see what I'm saying? You're
Mm-hmm.
talking about the nationality of somebody who is a Moor. Just like we say British, right?
Mm-hmm.
Beret comes from
Yeah.
Beret, and Beret is the blood or contract, right? And ish then would be the type of man or nationality. So when you say
Mm.
British, you're really saying contracted man or man of the contract. Understand?
Mm.
Because Beret
Yes.
from Beret is Hebrew, right? And Beret and Beretain, right? That's now Beretain now is bringing you back to India. And then Beretania is the combination of the masculine god and the feminine god. The masculine
Mm.
god, right? Brit or Brett or Brute, right? And then the feminine Britannia or Iania, right? Together, Britannia, who was really Aphrodite, who was really Diana, because we always see her holding a sword and a shield, right? With the
Yes.
Moorish Spartan helmet on. Yeah, because that's the god. Every state, every
Mm.
nation's supposed to have their own god. They do. And like I said, man becomes the food for the divinity that he worships. So, like I said, some Moors are more secular. They don't
Mm.
believe in the temple and they look at the temple as a cult and all this other BS. But I believe that they are in error because the temple itself is if the temple didn't exist, you wouldn't know about any of that. If it wasn't for the work that the prophet did, you wouldn't know about none of that. So you can't throw the baby out with the bathwater. You know what I mean? And there are a lot of white people who don't like the people who founded Israel, Charles Herschel and them, the Zionists. They didn't even believe in no God. They were atheists. They were Satanists. And these niggas said, no, we need to set up a state where the Jewish people can honor their God.
Yeah.
But he's a Jewish and he don't even believe in God. And look at what they did. So what that says is that when it comes to white people, they don't get caught up in all of this stuff we be getting caught up in, the tribalism stuff. A lot of white people ain't Catholic. That don't mean that they're not going to support the Catholic Church. That don't mean that they're not going to give to the institution, because they receive benefit. They receive spiritual and financial benefit from doing that. We the only ones that castigate each other's organizations. We the only ones that say, oh, I don't deal with that because that's them Moors and they believe this and that. We the only ones doing that dumb shit. All of the Irish, the white Aryan gangs, they bang on each other, kill each other in jail, and all of that, war with each other, all that. When it comes to dealing with the black man, though, they all together. They
united.
divided that. They'll kill one of their own trying to help you in the joint. Meanwhile, you'll kill your own just to do business with them. This is what I'm saying. We have fallen. We're in a fallen state. So we shouldn't try to act like we are more than we are at this point. There are things that are being laid out for us to do every day, and it's going to become easier. It's going to become easier because we ain't got to prove nothing no more. Yeah. The work is already put in. We don't already laid the groundwork out. Now he cleaning the way out so that way everybody with a business program can get what they supposed to get properly. What's wrong with that?
I love it.
Nothing.
So would there be does the Moorish Empire still exist? Will it be restored, or are we going to have something completely new?
I think the empire itself never ceased. It never stopped existing. It's just the United States. Like I said, the United States is using Moorish law right now with the tariff thing. If they employ the tariff thing right, the way McKinley was trying to do it, you're gonna have surpluses of money. You're gonna have surpluses of money. That's why he renamed the whole thing the Gulf of America, so he could reach around the whole Gulf of not being able to drill into the Gulf of Mexico. Because it's a giant pyramid in there. The Gulf of Mexico in the old Moorish Empire was the original Fertile Crescent. Under that is a giant pyramid that was actually up, that sank after the last dispensation. So the energy in there is heavy with oil production, because that's one of the byproducts of all of that built up energy and stuff coming from seeping out of the ground, coming up as this black liquid, this black oil. So Biden said that they don't want you to do none of that. This guy, Trump, wants to turn America back into a manufacturing, just like the way the Prophet tried to set up a Moorish manufacturing corporation. See? Because we need to manufacture the means of production, because that's what allows us to take care of our people socially without becoming socialists. Wow. It's a system. We don't understand the American Republic. Go and read the manual on war, the United States War Department laws on occupation. They got a whole PDF for free. I got it on my app also. You can check it on my app for free if you want. It's called the Law of Occupation. There's a whole law on how you're supposed to occupy people. Biden violated all of them. That's why he got kicked out. And now the new postmaster is now coming in, and he's using his administration to get rid of all of these people, to get rid of all of the excess. So that way only the Constitution, right, as it applies to the denizens and the citizens can be applied to Americans. So again, we as Moors, when it comes to their Republic Constitution, we're protected from the preamble to the 7th article. All of the denizens, they're protected from the 7th article to the 13th. All of the aliens are from the 14th article to the supremacy clause. See what I'm saying?
Yes. Yes.
So that's why he's trying to create a whole circumstance to create a third term. He's trying to limit congressional terms, but then at the same time create a position where the president has 3 terms instead of 2. We'll see. You know what I mean? It depends on
Mhm.
how successful he is with doing everything else. But so far, everybody falling into line. So everybody that's upset that you may not have to pay income tax no more, that you're gonna have more surplus money because the income tax that you would have been paying is now coming from foreign people, which then leads to a subsidy, which means that there's more money for you to get loans from to do what you need to do, or more surplus money for you then to get a loan, insure that, set that up under your own private trust, create a foundation for your people, whether they be Moors or American Indians or RBGs or Gullah Geese, whatever you want to call it, and then wind up doing that same thing, just like the United Nations do. All of
Mm.
those United Nations as an organization is underwritten by China. The
Wow.
upper levels of the United Nations is all run by Chinese.
Mm.
So everybody like the China and the BRICS is gonna come. They're doing that. China's economy is in free fall right now.
Mm.
Stop believing the hype. Talk to real Chinese people. Stop falling for the red note BS that y'all did. Oh, TikTok want my data. I'm gonna just give it to the Chinese openly. No,
Mm.
no. Red note again was cool, but again, it's a Chinese military op. So yeah,
Mhm.
they got your data, just like TikTok got it. But really, if Oracle get it, all y'all need to get over TikTok because it's gonna basically set up an AI to watch you 24 hours a day. I don't gotta
Mm.
worry about it because I'm not on TikTok. You know what I mean? I don't
Mhm.
deal with that. You know, but that's me. And
Mhm.
Instagram, right? Facebook, YouTube, those little things is enough. Having my
Mhm.
own app where I can speak directly to the people, that helps, you know.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
for the most part, now is the time for you to look around and see in your community what you need. Create circumstances for you to do that and use what you got to get what you want. Use this
Mm.
time where everybody is losing thing. Where you think all of the money is going to come from these houses? This is going to lead to a housing shortage. Excuse me,
Mhm.
a housing boom.
Boom. Mhm.
Because Airbnb and all of these people was getting money from Biden to put these people up. Now
Wow.
all that money done froze. How they gonna pay rent? How they gonna fill that up overnight? They
Mm.
can't do that. So
Mm.
what do they gotta do? They're gonna have to lower their prices
Mm.
to allow more people to catch on that the prices are low, so that way they could take more advantage of it. So we winning already.
We are.
The reason why all of the food, the chicken, the eggs is so much because this nigga Biden genocided 100 million chickens.
Mm.
He ordered 100 million chickens killed. They was the one blowing up the food processing plants. Remember that in the beginning
Yeah.
of 2023, all of them food processing plants was getting blown up. That was them.
Mm.
That was him. Remember, the Freemasons is about creating order out of confusion.
Yeah.
So the government created the chaos so they could get the right to change it.
Mm.
But now the government is not going to have as much power as you think it do. So again, if you're thinking in the context of if you came from a slave and they owned you and all that, then I would see you might believe all of that. But I don't believe. Again, you dictate your timeline, your reality, how you want.
That's right.
If you
That's right.
believe they have the ability to oppress you and put you in their positions, that's what you're gonna get.
Mm. Woo!
Indeed.
That's a good
So
note to end on, brother
that's
Aseer.
it. I agree. We went in. We went in.
You really went in, and the people are so grateful for you. They're saying thank you. They appreciate the knowledge and information.
Thank
Some
you.
people have said they have to rewatch this to catch all the jewels you were dropping. So we are very, very grateful to you
It's
and
fine.
to your family and your wife
Thank you.
for,
Thank,
sharing you with us because they
thank
don't have
you.
to do that. Uh,
Indeed. I couldn't do it without her. I want to give honors to her. Because like I said, when with me in my journey in the Aborigine community, in the Moorish community, like I said, when I was wearing feathers and stuff all the time, and then still claiming Moorish nationality and stuff, people was looking at me like I was crazy. I was going to these powwows. I was going to the wiki ups. I've been in sweat lodges where you get the
mm,
elders, where you get the ancestors in the rocks and burn the rocks and put it in the thing. I've built
wow.
sachems and stuff like that. Like, you know what I mean? I've had to
Mm,
learn how to sew and sew feathers and put them together. and how the sacred hoop, what each aspect of the sacred hoop supposed to be, what corners is for the elders, what corners is for the female teachers, the warriors, and the scholar. Like there's a ways that we was raised up in this. It's just that because I never made that the forefront, or I guess the fore, even though I thought I was, people would try to now make a dispensation between the Moors and the so-called American Indian. But
Yeah.
again, all these American Indian names had Moors in the clans, but after the Reconstruction and the upheaval, they would hide it. You would have to be a part of the peace. You would have to be a part of the band or part of the tribe or the clan that was responsible for holding the peace pipes, or what they call the sacred fire keepers. Those were the ones who got the real science that was going on. See what I'm saying? Everybody else was going along with the new reconstructed Indian thing because they was killing us. They was killing any Moors or American Indians or whatever dressing like this, speaking the Punic Latin, speaking old Phoenician dialects, the Hebrew. They was killing them. You had kill orders. So we made that secret, and they kept that part of the family, thing. But they would keep it alive by saying, "Oh, I got Indian in my family."
Yeah.
When they talked about, oh, he's the red man. He's the red man. Because we were the people under the red men were the people under the red fez, under the red flag. The flag that was flying in Philadelphia up until the conflict. Now the new flag that has to be raised has to be the national flag, or what they call the Title IV American flag. Look it up.
The
Title
Title
IV
IV.
American flag is what's running the republic right now. And that's grammatically and syntax wise allegedly correct. However, we benefit from all of that because, again, we are the people who helped with the original compact. There would be no America or United States for America if it wasn't for the Moorish Empire. We were the first to recognize them. But that empire was right here in America. That's why the term North African, as ambiguous it is, represents everybody who is a Moor from the northern portion of Africa. Right? But remember, Africa represents everything from west of Mali all the way over here to California. So we already Moors or Moroccans. That's why the Moroccans of the empire spell Morocco with an A. Morocco. The people in the kingdom that was set up by the French, the United States, to hide the true nationality of the original people in the empire, they spell it in the corporate way with Morocco. But they've already acknowledged us. But again, we're not in any position to effectuate a real state at this point. So the way to reestablish any type of trade or whatever is to come in the proper nationality that you already have, which is what's already here. Like I told you, the term Muslim started in America first and was adopted by them people in the 7th century, to the point we even split that up. They went further east, we went west, all the way up into Europa, parts of Asia, and they came right back over here. Whereas the Pale Arabs stayed in Arabia. They ain't go no further than that, really. Maybe up into Persia, right? But like I said, half of these countries they didn't even exist. There's no such word as Iraq. Iraq is not a real word.
What?
It don't exist. Yeah, it don't exist. It's not a real word. Look it up. They don't exist. They just call it that. They just named it that. So you got people today call themselves Iraqis. There's no such thing as what is an Iraqi? You don't know what that is because it don't exist. Those people are Persians. If we really want to get into it, they Persians. That's why they at odds with Iran, because Iran want to bring all of its Persian people back into itself. But if you bring them Persians up in there, you're going to have to bring them Russians up in there, which means you're going to have to bring them Italians up in there, because all of them niggas is Persians. All of them are idolatry worship. So that's what I'm saying, man. We need to focus more on us. You know what I mean? Stop set tripping. You know what I mean? If I'm a Moor and I'm willing to work with you, and you are RBG or you a Hebrew or whatever, stop hating. Like, I don't have no beef with you. So if you want to get caught up in set tripping ideology, then join the Crips and the Bloods. Deal with that. You know what I mean? But even that came out of the Moorish Science Temple. That's when you start getting into the stones and all of that. All that came out of the temple after the El Rukas and them fell. And who was they dealing with? Gaddafi. And again, the Moors. You're dealing with Moors over here and over there. And They wound up getting boxed out of position because they brought the Freemason in, Farrakhan, and he may or may not have dropped down. So what did that do? That created a power vacuum, which led to the rise of the killings of these gangs that we're dealing with all the way up until today. See? So all of these plays, all these scams is being revealed now. So all we got to do is get our affairs in order and stop being so outraged with what everybody else is doing and focus on ourselves and our children, man, because that's who's most important. Everything else gonna work itself out. Just establish and have the things together. Declare your nationality, correct your name, get your house in order, put your estate and your things like that into a trust that may also have an ecclesiastical connection to a temple or a foundation that you create in the name or on behalf of the temple. So now you not only have a tax shelter, you have something that you can put money into, and now you ain't paying no tithes. But now you can own everything because nothing's in your name. So you can own businesses, you can own whatever, and you can do it all in the name of your people and what you want it to be done for, as opposed to going to and creating another 501c3, going to another job or another nationality to get a handout. Like I said, the Bible said, in the end, your enemy will come your footstools. The third prophecy of Muhammad says, in the end, all of the Moors will come together and life will be brazen into the new Andalusia. We've already had the prediction that whatever happens, we're already in the hereafter. So there really is nothing to look forward to other than what you want to see created. So start creating, man. Create these realities for yourself because they exist. You know what I mean? And what happens is you stop the physical aspect of aging because you're not depending upon the age to define yourself. That's the key, bro.
People are asking, how do they claim? How do they claim? So if you all want to know how to claim your nationality, you're going to have to contact Aseer, the Duke of Tears, in
Just hit me
private.
up at houseofl@hotmail.com, or you could download the ADOT app. It's on the Google Play and the Apple Play Store. I have an aspect on it that I can do video calls with people, as well as a plethora of information I put up on it all the time. So definitely check me out there. Also, if you can, check out www.cordobaorganics.com, because you need your body straight. So the more unprocessed chemicals that you can put on your body that are actually there to help you, that's going to work. That's why all of these brands that's being kicked out under the DEI thing, you got to understand, all of those so-called black brands you talking about, all of those brands, those black people, let me say not all, most of those black people are just faces for the corporations that are using them to sell excess products that they no longer can subsidize because they have extra inventory. So they get a black face to come in and act as the face for these pots, right? That we done bought too many from China, but we can't sell them to our direct market. So let's use the Negro market. Go get Tabitha Brown or whoever, use her face, and then she'll sell it to the Negroes. And then she'll say that it's her, when really it's just her name and her face on it. That's why they don't have no, let me tell you, these people don't have no factories where they're producing all of these lotions and these things. They're not doing that. They are outsourcing these things from China or whoever else, and they're using these DEI faces as the marketing ploy to be able to sell it to the people who they call liquid money, who are black people with no nationality, that only want to see somebody that look like them sell them something, even if it's poison. So it's good that a lot of these companies and these so-called fake black companies are getting kicked out, because that's going to allow melanated companies that aren't color struck, that aren't out here trying to racial grift, that aren't out here trying to play the victim, that's trying to play up this whole I've been slave from Africa, you owe me all of this crap, right? When these niggas done went to Harvard, they grew up in Jack and Jill, they done had all of the bourgeoisie purpose to get what they want. That's how they got the deal. And because they're willing to be minstrels and stuff, they'll sell us anything. So now the time is coming now where real products is going to be able to do that. That's
Mm.
why Cordova Organics, I believe, is the only 100% organic joint out there. One, because she dedicates her products to her demographic, and those
Who is
are
she? Who is she?
people,
His wife.
melanated people. My
His
queen
wife.
Selena Cordova L, she targets those to our people, and our people know who they are. So I
Mm.
don't have to say Moorish Americans or Moorish people, because you already know, based upon the consistency of how long we've been on it like this, as opposed to somebody who you just seen pop up on TikTok, and now
Mm.
they selling you a bunch of cryptocurrency, right? And now you done lost your whole fortune because
Yep.
you thought that the Hawk Tua girl was going to be able to make you rich off of a meme coin. Like, you're crazy. You're crazy. But a fool and his money is soon parted. So,
Mm.
this is where we at, you know? So I
I'm
appreciate you,
putting
sis, for having
you're
me on.
more than welcome. I'm putting your links in the chat, but I've also connected them to this podcast on YouTube and on Rumble for all of you all that are asking. Where can people find your
Awesome.
work? No, yes, absolutely. Where can they
Thank
find
you.
your work,
You
dear?
can check me out. Yeah, if you go to www dot, thanks for posting the links, by the way. But if you go to www.aseertheducateers.com, you can see all my links up there. I'm trying to save all of the Block Talk archives, because Block Talk's about to shut down, but they kind of hating on me from downloading all my stuff. So hopefully I'm gonna be able to have that 7 years worth of information, archive stuff, before they try to delete it all. So I'm
Mm.
working on that. But all of my links is there. The link to the app is there. The link to the interviews, my YouTubes, as well as the darksco418.com. Definitely check that out. That's my comic book novel. I'm working on another 3 of those right now. I'm trying to get them out by True Year. So look out for that. Also, again, please check out www.cordovaorganics.com.
Mhm.
Definitely appreciate it. And yeah, if you guys want to hit me up, whether it be consultation wise, if you don't do it through the app, you can email me directly at houseofl@hotmail.com. That's HOUSEOFEL at hotmail.com. House of L at
At
hotmail.com. Definitely hit me there.
hotmail.com.
And yeah, if anybody would like to join any of the classes we do every Sunday night
Mm.
from 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time to about 11,
Mhm.
definitely hit me up there
I did
at
not know that.
houseofl@hotmail.com. Invite.
Okay, and they
Say
can
again,
also
sis.
follow. I was saying I didn't know you offered classes. I need to be a part of those classes. Um, they can also.
Yeah, they're every yeah, they can hit me up at houseofl@hotmail.com. Just say, hey, I heard about your classes if you want to join. And again, you can also reach out to me on YouTube on
Mhm.
aseertheducateers.com. Please subscribe if you haven't. Please tell your people to subscribe. I've had a throttle on my page since I started the page. And they just let me break through
Mm.
50,000, even though I've
Wow.
been on for about 10, 11 years.
Mm.
So it's
Yes.
people with way less content, and they go farther, but they've delayed my videos. They've messed with them when I'm uploaded. They've yanked videos off. They've been doing a lot, but now a
Mm.
lot of that's gonna have to stop now. You know what I mean?
Mhm. Yes.
Um, so I'm looking for a lot of my videos sometimes. Please bear with me if you look and it sometimes it look like the sync is off or whatever. It's not me. It's YouTube. When I upload it, they do something with the algorithm. I don't know what it is, but they've been doing that for certain videos. So definitely check that. But I think a lot of that's going to change after True Year. Once we're fully in the administration,
Mhm.
like once Patel and RFK and these people actually firmly get in there, we might really start seeing some crazy sweeping changes, you know.
Mm.
So look for a lot of these lists that's been floating out here to get exposed as well
And you're
during this
also
period.
on.
So yeah,
Yes, sir. You're also on Facebook.
say again.
Um, You're on Facebook. I want to share your Facebook page as well.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Yeah, man. Everybody can hit me up there. They maxed me out at the friends. So
Mm.
I'm gonna try to go through and do that again. But definitely send me messages. I can definitely email people and message people through that. You know,
You can
I
also,
really appreciate. Go
you're
ahead, sis.
welcome. You can also turn your personal Facebook page into a business page so that now you can get more people to follow you.
That's a good idea. I may do that
Mhm.
now. Now that Zuckerberg done
Yes,
been brought to heel. You know, what I mean? Been
yes.
brought to heel by this dude too. So I'm gonna definitely look into that. Thank you for that.
You're
And
welcome.
finally, like I said, man, long live the empire. Honest to all
Mhm.
of the Moors of the diaspora. You know what I'm saying? In regards to what dispensation you subscribe to, I'm striving to not beef, regardless to what problems I have openly with people, whatever. I'm striving not to. I've always strived never to bring that to the public. So
Mhm.
just know if you ever have issues with me or whatever, you could always hit me up directly, houseofl@hotmail.com or whatever. And I'd rather dialogue with people than create fake circumstances for people to make names off of
Mhm.
fake debates and things like that. You know what I mean? I
Yes,
found that
yes.
has actually helped me establish a lot more credible information, a lot more credible
Mhm.
work through people who I've had this type of interaction with. So honest to that. And again, man, honest to the American Indian so-called community, i.e., Black Indian community. Honest to who people who refer to themselves as FBA, ADOT, whatever. I may not agree with those aspects of it. You know what I mean? Because I understand that a lot of that was those things were set up with good
Mhm.
intentions, but the people aren't necessarily the best who may be representing that. And these
Mhm.
things can be turned into traps very quickly. But in the meantime, I'm for anybody that is supporting the idea that the original people of this land were the copper colored, original melanated people. If you down with
Mhm.
that, I'm down with you, regardless of what you wanna thing or whatever. When it comes to that, we can agree. So
Mhm.
anybody I can agree with, I know if we agree on that, we can agree on other things. And that's how we begin dialogue, and that's how we begin to establish proper institutions that then can lead with our power of authority or delegation of authority, can lead to the establishment of municipalities, which then can
Mhm.
lead to establishment of whole uh, dominions, which then can lead to principalities, which then can lead to nationhood.
Mhm.
But we got to get there with a plan. It can't just be because you decide now you gonna be the sultan, or you gonna be the chief, or you gonna be the minister of education. That this is how everybody gonna do it, and if they don't do it that way, then that's not how to do it.
Mhm.
We attract more flies with honey
That's
instead of
right.
vinegar. Excuse me, more bees with honey than vinegar. So let's be bees and get busy.
Amen.
Islam.
Islam.
On
Yeah.
everybody.
Thank you all for joining
Tatanka.
us.
Salam
Okay.
alaikum. Shalom alek. Shalom Aleichem, and Tatanka, Wado. I'm trying to think of anybody else. Barghani, Hotep, long live the empire. You know what I mean? Support the
Yes.
republic. Again, Doctor, thank you so much for having me on. I appreciate you.
You're welcome. And we appreciate all your wisdom, knowledge, and information that you share. And so anybody that appreciates it and would like to donate or to give him a blessing to show your appreciation, or you want to support
Honest,
his work, you're welcome. Then you may send a Cash App
honest,
monetary donation to his Cash App, which is $D as in divine, S as in superior, 418. That's $DS
honest,
418, and he would greatly appreciate it. We will also talk to Aseer, the Sheik, um, after this podcast about bringing on his wife so that she can talk about the
yes,
products
indeed.
with Cordoba Organics, because
Yes,
her
indeed.
business has been a blessing to us. And she sells to people all over the world. So it's not about just selling
Right,
to Moorish or Black people or people classified as indigenous or whatever. She sells products to people all over
that's
the
right,
world because her purpose and mission is to help everybody, to support your skin, nourish your
right,
hair, all that. So having said that,
right.
family, thank you so much. Right? That's right, for joining us.
Honest, honest,
Honest.
honest to
Peace.
everybody. This is our time. Let's do it. We gonna win. You know what I mean? We was on the ropes. We about to come back up swinging. It's our time to get it popping. Let's be successful. Stop the victimhood. Let's work together. Love and light. Love, truth, peace, freedom, justice, and equality. Peace.
Peace, family.